What's going on, everybody? How are y'all doing tonight? Oh my god, we have a freaking great night. We have an amazing night. If you'll notice the names on the screen, those are the sleeve monkeys. We already have a few of them showing up in the chat already. More will be on their way. We have a lot of them. Uh, Due to that, I have a new emoji, and it is an emoji that is called Beggar Phil, and here's what it looks like. And it's basically Phil holding up a sign saying, "Please buy my games." And so, guys, we have a new emoji. Smash the heck out of that. We're going to be talking a little bit about that type of stuff tonight with Gears Collection coming over to PS5. We are also going to start off with some absolute horseshittery, and I cannot wait. But before we get into that, I would like to go over the topics with y'all real quick. Want to thank y'all for being here. Please, yes, thank you, Josh. Hit all the buttons. We had Outsider Gaming Night was the first one here. Goku, where were you, dude? Goku 1973 is usually my first guy in the chat, so looks like Outsider Gaming Night beat you to it. Hero Down Under, Warawana, Grand Cat 1, already said welcome in the chat, but good seeing you. I don't think I've seen you before. Michael Meridian, how are you, sir? Josh Ayers, welcome, welcome, welcome. This emoji will make the gaming grindhouse jealous. Dude, so for better or for worse, Grok is actually pretty dang good, and it's a whole lot better than all the others that are out there. Not even lying. Anything else that you throw into that, like any of the AI prompts or anything like that, if you don't pay for it, it can't spell anything. It can't do anything like that. And so, like, the fact that it has everything spelled out correctly, already kudos. The fact he looks like a used car salesman holding up this sign absolutely is awesome. Like, his hair slicked back, he had a little bit of sweat on the brow. Super excited about all of that. So that is the brand new emoji, and you will notice that I do not have an even number at the bottom left of the screen. Why is that? And what is that image down there? Well, we're calling that one Super Cerny and his sidekick, the PS5 Pro. And so Super Cerny is here to help. He is here to do all of the things to help save the Xbox Game Studios one enhancement at a time. That is the next emoji, and we are 22 members away from that next emoji. So if you feel so inclined, you can pick up your own membership, or if you want to gift membership to others, you can do that as well. At 22, that does unlock, and it is loaded and ready to go. So with all of that being said, daggum, looks like Enate showed up at the exact right time. Damn, you're like Gandalf, dude. Uh, what's going
That's my favorite character, so makes sense.
So I don't know if Kofi's back yet. So we will go ahead and start with you. How are you, dude?
I'm good, man. I'm just trying to find the time to play all these games. It's starting to be rough, man.
It's starting to dogpile, dude.
Yeah, it's like I can't beat them fast enough, man. They just keep coming and March. I need a calendar just to keep up with releases just for March. Like, just for March. Never mind the rest of the year. Like,
Yeah.
it is just an onslaught. I mean, it's been a while since I had to buy 2 games in one day, but that just happened with the Suikoden 1 and 2 remaster. Obviously, you know, that being Suikoden 2 being my second favorite game of all time, that was a no-brainer. The reviews were literally irrelevant for that game for me. And then obviously Split Fiction is about to launch, and that is a day one. So technically it's not one day, but if I could pre-order Split Fiction, I would have done it already. But since Joseph Ferris does not do pre-order bonuses and all the other, you know, nonsense in our industry, you can't pre-order it as of this moment. So
Good for
you just
him.
gotta buy it.
You
Yeah,
just
yeah,
gotta
he-
you just gotta buy it. Damn.
Yeah, you just gotta buy it. Yeah. So he's like, yeah, don't worry about none of that. He was like, just show up the day of and just give me the exact amount and call it a day.
That's
So,
fantastic. Uh, so Split Fiction is definitely on my radar. Suikoden I've never played, and
mhm.
so uh, it's up my alley, but I just never touched the series. I mean, if it didn't have a Square Enix logo back in the day, I wasn't touching it, and if it didn't say Final Fantasy, it just wasn't getting played. So,
I mean, you're not wrong. I mean, it's that way for a lot of people, right? I mean, I'm
dude,
lucky
I
that I
was a
even got
snob,
got to
bro.
play the series.
I was
I
such
mean,
a
but
snob.
it's like that. What's up, Kofi?
What's
What's
up,
going on?
Kofi? So Kofi, we're just talking about kind of what we're playing right now. I saw you on your Twitter handle has now finished this I can't say it, but you've now finished the game. So what game did you just finish?
The latest game I finished was the newest installment in Legend of Heroes. It's called Kai no Kiseki, and it's the sequel to what just got released in America, which is what? Trails to Daybreak 2, Crimson Sin.
Huh?
And that game is incredible. I Crimson Sin, which just came out on Valentine's Day, is great, and its high moments are up there in the clouds. It also has some moments that I strongly do not like. Without being critical, it the story is great. Some of the execution of the exploration I find annoying, and some of the encounters I find annoying. Other than that, great game, and I'm excited for more people to get so close to the latest chapter. But this new chapter, oh my gosh, like I'm sure some people have seen some trailers. I will not spoil anything, but the thing I like most is if you're a fan of Cold Steel, you will deeply appreciate this newest chapter. If you are a fan of seeing villains from Sky or seeing villains from Crossbell in the first two sagas, you are going to strongly appreciate this chapter.
Oh.
And I don't want to leave too much, but for people who have played the first saga, Sky, or gotten to Cold Steel 3 in the third saga, Trails is known for very impactful endings, and Kai ranks as high as any other good ending there's ever been. And this is what, game 14 or 15? I've lost count. So we know that this title will probably come out in March 2026.
Oh.
Or I would say somewhere in the first 2 quarters of 2026. So please be excited for that. That has been an incredible game. Other than that, though, it's been Monster Hunter World. It has been Visions of Mana, and Astrobot, going for the platinum in Astrobot. So lots of good gaming.
Man, that's awesome, dude. I started a title that I felt would make you proud because it's all subbed in English and there is no dub of it, and so I had to go back. Like that bothered me for so long, and then like it clicked in my brain hole that like all I needed to do was think about it in the sense of like I'm just playing an old school JRPG that didn't have voices and you just had to read. And so I was like, okay, so that shouldn't bother me that much. So I just started ignoring the vocals altogether. And that game is Sword and Fairy Together Forever, or Sword and Fairy 7. Uh, it's it's a game that came out, I think, 3 years ago on PC, 2 years ago on PS5. And they were doing ray tracing and shadows and shadow mapping and all this other stuff back then, and it looks fantastic. Um, there's a few things of polish in the game that are a little meh. I know I was talking to you beforehand, Kofi, about the hair and how it was really really noisy, but like
Mm.
it's only noisy in like menus and like cutscenes. It is the weirdest thing I've seen. The cutscenes look rough, but in game looks great. And so like it's very strange. It's almost like it's almost like the same feeling that I got when playing Final Fantasy 16, where in combat, where it should be boggy, where it should be kind of glitchy, where it should have some artifacting issues, it was solid, perfect, 60 stable, everything looked great. But when you got into these cities that didn't have crap going on, it looked like absolute trash and ran poorly. Like that, not absolute trash. It didn't look like Xbox games. Like it looked good, but it was sputtery. It didn't really run that well, and that was kind of always something that made me turn my head. And so in this one, it's another one of those moments like, why does it look like shit on the menu? But when we're moving around in the world, everything looks great. So it's not game breaking by at all. But guys, as a thrifty channel, y'all need to go check that game out. It's $14.99 if you're a PS Plus subscriber. And so like, go check that out. It's about a 35-hour game, and if you need 35 more hours to add to your backlog, there you go. I just gave it to you. So
It's a good length, actually.
it is,
All
and it's very much, dude, as soon as somebody says it's not open world, it's more linear, like a Final Fantasy X or a Final Fantasy 12 or a 13, I'm like, yeah, I'm there. I am so far removed from wanting to play an open world game right now. And so it's like, as soon as they're like, yeah, it's more of a linear title, I'm like, thank you, because I don't want to play a big, massive open world game anymore. And Josh, no, you do not need to play Sword and Fairy 1 from 1995. You do not need to do that. What's up, Nelson? Glad you can make it. RPG88, what is up, dude? Hey, man, congrats, bro. Like, congrats, man. You had a big, cool thing happen in your life recently, so congratulations to you, dude. All right, so, Nate, you started talking about all the games coming out in March, okay?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just gonna read off the ones that I know of, right? I mean, so PlayStation has done a new beta program for their PS5, and I was offered to be in it along with some other people. Everybody in the Discord was like sharing that they were in it also, like. And I had to put on there that I was a casual gamer. I'm not a competitive gamer. So I was like, so this is from a casual perspective, according to PlayStation. Age of Mythology, Carmen Sandiego, you have a brand new Care Bears game, which they wouldn't keep making them if people didn't keep buying them. You got Split Fiction, Suikoden 1 and 2, and I'm probably saying that wrong. Please forgive me. You have WWE 2K25, MLB The Show 25, Assassin's Creed Shadows, Roller Coaster Tycoon 3, Atelier, and I said that wrong, Yumiya. Bleach is getting a new game. You have Killing Floor 3, Atomfall, The First Berserker Kazan, Hitman World of Assassins in a VR game. You have, and then the Dollhouse game. All of that. So that's like what 12, 13 games that I mentioned?
Yep.
Like what? And that's a third of all the games listed of franchises IP I've never heard of.
Are you
Like,
that's right, you're not the biggest Switch player, right? I'm trying to remember.
No, I'm not. I have one. I just don't touch it mostly.
There's a game coming out that is inspired by oh man, I'm forgetting the name. It comes out in March. That's why I'm thinking of it. It's a tactics game, but it's only coming to Steam. And it's a sequel. Forgive me. It plays like old.
No, I don't.
Hold on, let me go to my wish list. I'm going to it right now. I'm
So
sorry. Hanging you up.
no, you're fine. You're hanging me up. Listen, I stumble over my own words. It worked. Like,
You're not talking about Dark Deity, are you?
Yes, that's it. Dark Deity 2.
Oh, okay.
there you go, Nate.
Yeah, I know what's up.
That's
knows
what's up,
what it
Lunchy? How are you, dude? So we're gonna start with some bullcrap tonight because we have some really good topics, right? Ballistic Moon, Kotaku's reporting on that, so we're gonna talk about that, but not talk about it a ton until some other outlet that's not Kotaku actually reports on it. We're gonna talk about Sega tonight and how I feel like they are actually listening to the gamers and listening to the gaming market right now, and I actually am going to be giving them a ton of kudos on that. Then, hey, what's up, JC? Then Marvel Rise of Hydra is 2025? Like, we're definitely talking about that game. Gears of War Collection coming to the PS5. Damn. And then Sony closes or reduces more staff. And there should be a slash between those, but, you know, we're professionals here. So, I want to start with something because it's funny as heck. Somebody posted this in the Discord earlier, or somebody commented. No. Josh commented on this on X, and first of all, we're gonna listen to this guy, and it's a post from X Vault Gaming, clipping something that Boomstick XL said, and it's going. Whoa, what's up, Bel Dante? It's gonna be quite comical. Enate and Kofi being on podcast before, you know that I can't pipe this into the Discord, but if you want to watch it on the stream, it will be there. Discord needs to have a little bit better integration. Anyways, we are going to go ahead and do what?
I'm going to join your stream real quick.
Gotcha. You mean broomstick, broomstick, whatever. First of all, okay, I'm not usually one to mess with people's appearance, but as I was watching this dude, okay, so I'm such a dick. I'm sorry. Here, because this is the first thing I thought of, okay? I can't. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. It's the...
Oh, I know. The last dying piece of hair in the middle.
Shit, man. I
That
can't.
he's got going on.
I fucking can't. It looks like the kid from The Incredibles. I fucking can't. Oh, this is what you... see, I get to experience all this shit new that everybody else has already figured out, because I haven't talked to or talked about or seen much of these guys, because I stay away from that side of the internet. But
Oh, it's just comedy. Like no one ever actually watches to be serious. It's just funny.
It's just funny. Okay, so now we're gonna get started. But I literally was watching him and I was like, "Is that a glare?" I was like, "Oh no, it's not a glare." Okay, so here we go.
Yeah. So hold on.
Xbox.
Before we do that,
Okay.
fun fact: if y'all haven't seen it, y'all should check out Noisy Pixel's Twitter right now, because they are so upset because they are getting dragged, rightfully so. Because they got nerve to be a RPG website and got nerve to drag the Suikoden 1 and 2 remake or the remaster.
Are you
Yeah,
kidding?
so yeah, I'm dead serious. So they gave it a 7.5, and you want to know what one of the big criteria was for the score was that the game has no story.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Alright, I am
Yeah,
looking
so-
for this stuff right now.
Yeah, so they are like instead of doing what they should have done. I mean, like somebody's told them, you know, from a professional standpoint, you should have internally reviewed the criticism and just kept it moving. But no, they put out a tweet trying to lash out at people, telling people you don't have to read our reviews. You don't have to. I was like, bro, this is like
They
famous
must have
last
deleted
words.
it.
I hope not.
I think they deleted it,
on.
dude, because the only thing I can see is where it says March is here, we have a new issue, and then it's 3 hours ago, Freedom Wars Remastered, updated,
on.
noisy... Okay.
Let me pull them up because I know I hope they didn't delete it because it was funny. People were dragging because not only were people dragging them for that.
Oh. Nope. Sometimes
People-
hype and nostalgia
nope, here it
cloud
is.
our- Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that tweet.
Sometimes hype and nostalgia cloud our... oh, hey, here you go, guys. That's... Fuck these guys. Like, I don't even know this series, but I know they're full of shit. Like...
Yeah, so
sometimes-
not only did they do that, right, but they also apparently put major plot points and spoilers in the review.
Oh boy.
I was
Dude.
like, yeah, I don't know what they were thinking.
So here's the deal. We'll get back to Broomhead here in a second. But like I was watching because I cannot. I fell off. I
Yeah.
promised myself I wouldn't get super hyped about gaming and about like any one particular game this year, at least not early in the year. I did it for Stellar Blade last year and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and I've told myself I was going to temper everything until games actually released, and damn it, all it took, let me tell you how weak I am as a gamer. All it took was more than one outlet going, oh, this game looks like Final Fantasy X, but better. And all of a sudden, my brain goes...
Your credit card left your wallet.
I was like, oh, so that's all that they have to say. Okay, I'm glad I know that about myself now. And like, the game I'm talking about, of course, is Claire Obscure Expedition 33. And I fell off the rabbit hole, and I've been watching reviews, and they've all said the same damn thing. Like, that's fine. It's great. I feel like I'm watching the mainstream media. They all said the exact same talking points. They all said the exact same lines. Except this one person who streamed an entire hour of the demo. I didn't know that she was streaming the entirety of the thing. So I hop on there and I'm listening to her introduction. She starts playing the game, and I'm like, oh, this looks really cool. And then it says previously on Expedition 33. Because apparently you start at a separate spot than where the actual disc is going to start.
Right.
And so it goes into the fucking story, and all of a sudden I see people I see things. I see things that I can't unsee. And then I have little Enate on my shoulder going, dumbass, I told you not to watch shit. And so now
I'm so sorry.
It's not her. It's gonna be out in the demo. I'm gonna play the demo, so I'm gonna see it. I just didn't want to see it that early. But
I hate spoilers, man. I detest it. So
man, I'm so cautious. Even when we were talking about Rebirth, if y'all remember when I was doing any of my Rebirth coverage or anything, and we were trying to talk about like the old Final Fantasy VII game, the OG, even that I didn't like. I was like, okay, I don't want to say that because that's kind of a spoiler. Everybody knows this happens, but like, because like these upgraded games automatically increase interest, or these remakes rather, automatically increased interest in the original. And so, like, it always, whenever they release one, you always see a spike of the original game. And so, like, I'm so super cautious, and when I saw that, I was like, oh my god. Okay, so I just turned it off, and I think I'm good now. I think I'm gonna stay away for a little bit longer. But guys, seriously, Claire Obscure Expedition 33, y'all, I don't think we're ready for that game. I don't think that. I think it being at $50 is absolutely the most winningest price point I could imagine for that type of game. And
I agree.
It's literally because the developer doesn't want price being a barrier of entry for his game. Like, that's fantastic. That's awesome. When they're like, yeah, we could probably charge more. And with the way the game looks, yeah, you probably could charge more. But, like, they're going to get so many more people who are like, you know what? I'll try it out.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
I'm so
There's something
excited.
special about the $49.99 right now that everybody's like, yeah, I'll buy that. It's, you know, it's a great little range there. I remember even though it's a service-based game, Helldivers did that. I feel like that helped. Like a very price-friendly entry.
It definitely helped. Because I seen a ton of people just because they were like, oh man, it's only $50. I could just jump right in. Yeah, a ton of people. That price point is very magical. Even better than the 60. Like the 50 is just like
it's so good.
You know, why not? Yeah.
Because it feels so $49.99 feels so far and away removed from $69.99. Like it just does.
Amen. It just does.
It's $20 and it feels like it's $50.
Like, it feels like a lot more.
It feels like a ton more and what it is the closer you get to 100 without being in the $89, $99 range, the more it hurts spending and breaking that 100. Like there's a certain point in between where you're like, okay, cool. Anything up to $50, no big deal. I still have half of $100 bill left. Got it.
Right.
Cool.
Right.
anything between 50 and like 79, and you're like, oh, man, that's only gonna leave me $30. I don't really want, like, it's, there's something about it that makes us go, that's just not that good. And companies know this, but, and Josh in the thing said, are you implying that price is a barrier? Not if you love the IP, but I am implying that the developer thinks that price is a barrier. And so when a developer thinks that price is a barrier and they want to keep their price low, or like Enate was talking about, the developer of Split Fiction doesn't like a certain aspect of the gaming industry, so he just avoids it. And
That's true.
this developer is
That's a good
saying,
point, too.
hey, listen, I don't want to charge $70 for my game. I don't think that we should have to. And if it sells well, we won't need to. And so, like, it's a win-win for everybody. And so I appreciate that. Plus, they have very, very little overhead. It's a small studio. It's a small group of people. I encourage y'all to go check their page, their website. It's Sandfall Interactive. And just go read about the devs. Like, for Expedition 33 at least, go read about them. Go figure out what their favorite games are. Like,
You should definitely. Everybody should see the actual developer direct. That would their portion and the Xbox developer direct, because it was immaculate. Because they talk about basically everything that, like, we do. You know, when, I mean, obviously I've had this conversation with you and Kofi both, but our passion in general for JRPGs over the years, and how their entire team shares that vision, and they all grew up playing those games. I mean, this is as much us making a JRPG that we have wanted, right? It's literally that, right? Except it's just not coming from Japan, right? Because it's finally like, hey, you've had enough of an effect globally on us, and this team happens to be from, France, but they talked about growing up playing Chrono Trigger, Final Fantasy 8, 9, 10, 6, the whole 9, right? And they're like, we grew up and we got together as friends and thought, can we do that? We can do that now, right? And they got a couple people together, and it's just such a feel good story when you watch them and hear the passion behind each person on the team, and how much they all just have this major love for them, and you can see it in each and every system that they've put in the game and tested and retested and gone through each of these iterations. And you can even see it when they talk about it on the Twitter, right? On Twitter, they put out an extensive portion about where they discuss how they adjusted some of the combat and things like that. Like, the team has been literally on point since day one. But just, this is the difference we talk about when we say you can sell when a team is told to make a video game, and you get disasters like we got from some of these major studios, like Monolith shutting down, versus a team being passionate about something and creating something that the team shares as a vision of creation and something they want to bring to the table as actual gamers. This is something they want to play as much as we want to play it.
yeah.
And that's
So,
important.
I just wanted to say your description of this is incredible. I guilty admission, when I saw the first trailer of this game, I said, I definitely want to buy it, but I'm not going to see anything of it. Like, I've barely seen anything about the game, just a couple of clips, and that the voice actor, from the English version of Final Fantasy 16 is, I think, in it.
Yep, he is.
I don't know anything about this game, but now you make me want to go to the YouTube channels and go check that out.
So
Yeah, that portion won't really spoil anything for you, to be honest. So, like, if you're just trying to avoid, like, the game, it's mainly just the team talking, and you'll see some art here and there from them talking to the artists, but it just takes you in to where they're working out of, and they're working out of like a chateau or something in France. Like, it's beautiful.
Wild.
And just going through, and the artist is like drawing something while his dog is on his lap. It's super chill. Like, it looks like the type of place you want to come to work. Like you wouldn't care if Back in the Office was a thing, if you worked at this place, because it's such a feel good vibe, and you're like, well, I'm going to work with people who share my passion for, you know, JRPGs, and specifically turn-based, and the systems that incorporates, right?
Mm-hmm.
And being able to take it, which is one of the big things that we've gotten on people about, right? I've had to explain this to people when they're like, why is this such a big deal with Final Fantasy going away from turn-based, right? And I had to explain to a lot of people that Final Fantasy was always the de facto big AAA proof that turn-based JRPGs could still work, right? So them coming away from it, someone else had to pick that up, right? And even though obviously these guys are not backed by major AAA publication, what they're proving is that you can still create something that looks amazing, looks grandiose, and, you know, looks the part without spending, you know, $200 million. And I think that's the biggest important thing that I'm taking away from this. Mainly because as we talk about budgets being stretched so crazily to create a lot of these games, you're getting such great games produced at like the $40 million budget level. When you talk about games like, and this is not a JRPG, but per example, the estimated budget for Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 was about $41 million, which is insane when you think about the size, scope, and things that they've done with that game. And this is like a new happy medium that I think a lot of these guys, at least in PlayStation's case, definitely may want to consider, right? When we talk about these ballooning budgets, right? Obviously, one of the big factors in that is obviously the advertising, which is frustrating because it gets expensive. PlayStation, obviously, PlayStation, for obviously it goes big for Marvel, right? Like Spider-Man was insane. Like they had like trucks hanging from buildings. Like I don't even want to know what that costs. Like like how do you just price that?
Sequence with Sandman, that was crazy.
Yeah, like all that is crazy. Like to do the animation quality and stuff. Like we always still want those games.
Yeah.
But what I love, and with them doing this game in particular, and I love that so many people are interested, especially I've seen tons of people who are interested in this that are typically not even turn-based fans.
That has me nervous. I don't want them to hit play and then be like, oh man.
But at least they're being honest. Like they know what they're getting into, right? But what they like, and I don't mind because it doesn't ruin the turn-based aspect, right? Is the active combat portions in which you can increase your defense or time your dodge or do all these things that can enhance your abilities in the game that are part of the active mechanic, right? So it's still turn-based. You still give me that. And what I love about this most is this is showing people, like, and this is what I tell people, I get it. I love Square, right? But the biggest companies that have the most intelligent people working for them, sometimes they get their eye off the ball. They just lose track of where they wanted to be. They lose, you know, that direction they had, and seeing some direction from a much smaller team, a much more nimble team, right? They're not this big company. They don't have to turn. I always use the tanker, right, as a prime example. You ever watch a tanker turn? It takes forever. But if you watch a speedboat or even a yacht, something smaller, turn, it doesn't take as long, right? The smaller the boat, the faster it can turn. You can dodge something in the water in 5 seconds because, you know, you're in this really nimble speedboat. And that's you're basically getting this happy medium with these guys, you know, where they are giving you AAA style quality with a much more friendly, much more acceptable budget. So I love that they're doing it. So a lot of these guys, the bigger guys, I'm like, hey, pay attention. You know, this is what you could do for some of your smaller projects, right? And it's not that they don't have them, right? We just talked about Astrobot, right? You're going for the plat. Astrobot didn't cost all that much, right? And it won Game of the Year. So it's possible. But what I love is that while I love Astrobot, and I'm not really a platformer fan, but I actually really liked Astrobot regardless, is that it's teaching companies you don't just have to do an Astrobot and that's the only cheap game you can do. you can do cheaper games that are like Clair Obscur Expedition 33 or Kingdom Come Deliverance. You can still give us these big, great experiences. Yeah, I just can't, put my hand, under the smallest animation sequence, and it's not, you're not going to get that level of detail, right? But
one,
you know,
Well,
one
now
of
hang
those
on,
missed
because I don't know.
opportunities that
Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say one of those missed opportunities that makes me upset, though I have less of a reason to be upset, is the developers for Armed Fantasia, who are the masterminds behind Wild Arms, a classic JRPG series that was from the birthplace of PlayStation's partnership with obscure JRPG developers. They apparently came to PlayStation and said, "Hey, we want to revive this series. What could we do?" I don't know all the truth of the details, but we know it did not work out. And it's probably because these service-based games took priority, or some big, expensive game took priority. But if a Wild Arms game came out with like a $30 million budget, I think people would love that. If it was a complete, iteration, and then you could maybe just say, hey, for this duration of this console generation, let's do 3 Wild Arms games, right? Total maybe, I don't know, $80 million, $100 million for 3 games. I think people are going to resonate with that.
That's actually going to pull us into our first topic. I'm going to hold off on the boomstick stuff until the conversation naturally leads us there. The last thing I'll say on Expedition 33, I have a new video for it, and what y'all don't know is that audio was recorded 3 times. First time, it sounded awful. There was some problem with the microphone, and it just didn't work. Second time, I got it recorded, listened to it, and I had made the statement that the premise of the story is one that I had never seen before. And then I went into all the comparisons for Final Fantasy X. And as I was thinking about those while listening to the audio, making my edits and my cuts, I was like, wait a second. It's the same premise as Final Fantasy X. You are literally going on this trek, this expedition, this pilgrimage, to your death. The whole point of Final Fantasy X is to take you from the beginning to the end to fight Sin and die. That's the entire premise of Final Fantasy X. The entirety of the game is carrying you to your death. And then I thought about this. The Paintress comes out, writes a number, everybody who's that age dies. The people who are left, who have 1 year left of their life, go on these expeditions to try to stop the Paintress. This is the 33rd, or this is Expedition 33, based off of the fact that everybody who is 33 just died. So, the whole game, you're literally trekking to your death again. And once I made the connection, I was like, shit, now I gotta re-record the audio again. So I am over the moon hyped for this daggum game. And I cannot wait. It comes out April 24th, and y'all need to get it. But, we're talking about, Nate said, moving the tanker versus moving a nimble boat. Kofi said spreading yourself too thin, and Nate talked about these overblown budgets, and that's going to take us into our first story. So first we're going to discuss Sega, because the way that it has been presented on social media is that Sega is giving us fewer games. That is true. But there's more. It's not just, hey, Sega's in a terrible spot, they're having to give us fewer games, blah, blah, blah. No, there's actually some context that gets put to this. And so this is an article from VGC. Sega promises fewer new games, but deeper investments in Sonic, Atlas, and Like a Dragon. So, Sega plans to reinforce its core studios through hiring and M&A, which is mergers and acquisitions. Sega is planning to release fewer new games in the next year, but invest in its Persona, Sonic, and Like a Dragon studios. During its current business year, which ends March 31st, the Japanese publisher has released more than 7 full titles, including Super Monkey Ball, Banana Rumble, Metaphor ReFantazio, Sonic X Shadow Generations, and Like a Dragon Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii. Asked about its plans for the next fiscal year, which will run from April 2025 to March 2026, Sega said it would release fewer full games overall. Currently, the company's announced full games, so they refer to those as those that are not free to play. You have Sonic Racing Crossworlds, Shinobi Art of Vengeance, and Project Sentry. One is a kart racer, which is absolutely gorgeous. I played it, my sons played it, we all love it, we're all getting it. It's gonna be on repeat in my house. It'll probably be the most played game on my PlayStation profile this entire year because my kids have already talked about, like, Dad, I want a Knuckles and I want a Tails and I want this, and like, okay, fine. So like we my household is in Sonic Racing like nobody's business. What's up, Corey Massey? How are you, dude? Anyways, they have that, Jet Set Radio, Golden Axe, and Streets of Rage. The plan is currently being formulated, but we expect the volume of new titles in full game to be lower than this fiscal year, Sega said for its plans. On the other hand, we expect continuous revenue contributions from repeat sales of new titles in full game this fiscal year and full-scale revenue. Okay, so basically, they're narrowing their focus. And they're narrowing their focus. They're not trying to go over into live service. They're not going over here. Where are they narrowing their focus to? Sonic, Atlas, which is the people behind Metaphor and Persona. Metaphor, by the way, being Game of the Year contenders and winning a couple Game of the Years. And then Like a Dragon, which just had another release that had somebody like me actually loving the heck out of the demo. The combat feels so fun in this one with the double pirate swords. That is free. The swashbuckling mode is amazing in this thing. And so they are actually narrowing their focus on their IP that sells to put more money into it to make them look even better, to make more quality titles in those categories. Like, that's exciting. This is not something that anybody should look at in gaming and go, oh, I don't like that. I don't like how they're... But does that mean they're not going to... Like, this is good news. This is actually a studio looking at the gaming industry and going, I don't need to chase all this other bullshit. I have 4 franchises that are doing a lot of good lifting for us. Let's devote ourselves to those. So, that's my spiel on it. Enate, we'll start with you. You're at the top of the order. What's your take on this, man? Do you see it as a downside, or do you see this as a good thing?
No, I mean, I see it as a really great thing. I mean, those are all of the games that I focus on from them that I think have been doing really well for them. So to me, it just says that they're paying attention to what gamers want, and they're adjusting accordingly, right? They're still going to give us a lot of those games that they promised, those smaller projects, bringing back, the Jet Set Radio kind of stuff, and the Crazy Taxis and all that stuff. But like you said, when these full games, as they call them, their major releases, right? Sonic Shadows, I know, did really well recently. Obviously, Game of the Year for me with Metaphor, ReFantazio, Atlas just cannot miss right now. And they're obviously working heavily towards Persona 6 right now, which is heavily anticipated. And if done the way that we know Atlas can do it, will most likely break sales records for the franchise, especially being released on Switch 2 and PlayStation 5 and so on and so forth. But yeah, I mean, I think this just tells me that they're paying attention, which is good. I love to hear this kind of stuff from studios like this, moving in the right direction, not just as opposed to a lot of them where, we clearly speak loud with our wallets and what we're focusing on purchasing, and then the company just does the opposite, kind of like Warner Brothers did.
Right. That's exactly what I was thinking when you said that. Go ahead.
Yeah, but that's what happened. We spoke very loudly. We broke the record. We literally made your single player video games sell more than Call of Duty that year. If that doesn't tell you what people want from you, I don't know what does. Like, So to me, like I said, Sega is doing exactly what I wish a lot of these development studios or publishers would do. And again, that's pay attention to your fan base and what they're actively engaged with and what they want from you. And it'll do you a lot of good, right? We're all looking forward to a lot of these projects. Like I said, I mean, Atlas has been releasing like crazy lately. They had an insane year last year. Persona 3 Reload, and then helping Vanillaware push out Unicorn Overlord, which was my early runner for Game of the Year, and then to end with Metaphor. Like, I mean, they're just doing the most right now, and then coming right back with RGG Studios, like you said, in Pirate Yakuza. Again, another hitter in their studios, right? RGG has just been producing like crazy. And they're giving their fans everything they want, right? So yeah, I mean, like I said, this just speaks volumes to me that Sega's paying attention, and I love to see it. I love to hear it.
It feels really good. Kofi, what do you think, man?
You guys have said some very thoughtful things. I wholeheartedly support this because I look at between 2021 and 2023. I feel like Square Enix did just the opposite of what Sega is proposing.
100%.
They just threw games out there. They're like, everybody gets a game. Every IP that we've ever made, we're remaking it. It's going to be amazing. And you know what's interesting? A lot of those games are gems. A lot of these games, not even Square Enix, like they didn't even publish them, but they worked on them. Like I'm looking over at my game collection. Front Mission, right? A Front Mission remake? I remember when that first got announced, I was like, "Whoa!" Like,
yeah,
okay,
I couldn't believe that got remade. Yeah,
I was a little bit salty. I'm a little bit salty because I remember that it came out on Switch, timed exclusive. I was like, it started on PlayStation. Anyway.
Yeah, I was upset, and I bought it on Switch because I thought it wasn't coming.
You did. I waited.
And then I felt
interesting.
Yeah, I felt some type of way when it came on PlayStation, but when it finally went on sale, I bought it there.
Facts. Yeah, I ended up getting the physical of that too, with the nice little sleeve and everything. But anyway, I'm sorry, I digress. So yeah, there was so many games. What was that real-time strategy tactics game? It came out, I think, 22.
Tactics Ogre Reborn.
It's not a remake. It's a completely new IP.
Oh,
it's not turn-based.
Crap! It was Square Enix though, wasn't it?
Yes.
Oh,
brand new IP.
You got me scrambling.
Me too. Square Enix.
Wait, I have the platinum for this game.
Dayofield Chronicles.
Yeah, you probably. Yes, yep.
Josh in the chat, producer Josh, coming in clutch.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, so, Dayofield Chronicles. Yeah.
There was so many great ones. Of course, Octopath Traveler 2. Octopath Traveler 2 is one of my favorites. I absolutely love that game.
That's on my this year list to play. Octopath Traveler 1 and 2.
Shout out to Morgan.
Another crazy head scratcher is, I just picked up the game, I'm looking at it right now, is the offline version of Dragon Quest X, which never made it to American shores. I finished this game. I love this game. It is a great Dragon Quest game. I still don't know why that game's not out. So anyway, I still have to say, then Square Enix turns around and goes, well, we didn't make enough money. And I'm like, what's going on? And Star Ocean, right? There was a Star Ocean remake, and then this new Star Ocean IP. It was all these games. So I feel like Sega's learning from Square Enix's mistakes. And so because of that, I'm here for it. I think that's a great thing. Like you were saying, Enate, a lot of these titles, a new Persona game, or of course, Metaphor probably being the new trinity, right, of like the biggest between Shin Megami Tensei, Persona, and now that's going to be expanded upon, and the Yakuza. I mean, I personally wish that Judgment in some capacity could come back. I know that they had some weird things going on there that might not ever exist again, but that's okay. And then, of course, Virtual Fighter. Isn't Virtual Fighter coming back?
Yep, Virtual Fighter's coming back.
That's going to be huge. Yo, so I never had a Sega Saturn, but my friend did when I was a kid. And why am I tripping? Yeah. Wait. I don't know why I'm tripping. Yeah, Virtual Fighter, I think it was 2 and 3. That were, well, I think 1, of course, was on Sega Saturn, but the ones he had, I think it was 2 and 3, and playing as Akira, Jackie, Leon, Jeffrey. Oh man, that was light. So, and those titles were released. Oh yeah, maybe you already said this, Nate, but what was that new? It takes place
Talking
in
about
Japan.
the new one from the RGG studio.
Yeah. Okay, you brought that out. That game looked insane.
Oh,
I remember they played the
I
video.
don't
I was
remember
like,
the name, but I'm gonna pull it up because it looks insane. And
Yeah.
the hand-to-hand combat they got going on, and it
yes.
was like bloody and kind of like he wasn't holding back in that footage. So I know what you're
Yes.
talking about.
So
I was like, okay, you got my money. So
to everybody in
Yes.
chat, this is what happens when you get people who do nothing but play video games on the show. Like, this is because anytime, and I do this on purpose, anytime I have either of these two guys on, we do not get shit accomplished. But we have a hell of a time. So
Project Century. Josh pulled it up. He
Project
found it right
Century.
after I found it. Yeah, that's what it's called.
Okay.
yeah,
But-
he's
but no,
on it
but
tonight.
it's
He's at his
accurate.
computer tonight. That's
Yeah, he's not playing tonight.
But
But yeah, like you said,
Shout
all
out to
these
Sega
guys
for
are
making the
just
right
killing
decisions.
it.
yeah, and
Mhm.
that's the biggest thing is that I am so sick and fucking tired of watching these studios and watching these publishers go, oh, hey, we have this really cool IP, and the last 3 games were amazing, and we're gonna release Gotham Knights. The fuck? What, like, why? Why? Like, not just to hate on WB, but like, why? Or my favorite is, hey, we have a really good thing going in Assassin's Creed Origins. We're gonna go ahead and release Spartacus 2.0. Why? Why you built a good foundation. You rebooted the series to a giant, growing success. Why? Why? And like, they're not the only ones. Like, you see it in our sports games. Hell, WWE 2K25 just went through this with 2K Sports basically putting in what's called the Island, which is just like My City in NBA 2K, and people are complaining about it. It's shit. It doesn't have anything in it. It's nothing more than just to walk you from one area to the next and get you to spend money on all the different costumes and all the different, like, it is nothing more than a shameless or shameful money grab. That's all it is. And like, the fans are like, listen, y'all just got the graphics system working last year. Can we not, or 2 years ago, can we not start like adding extra bullcrap into the game when you just delivered a good product for the first time in several years? And no, we're gonna do whatever the fuck we want. Oh, okay, cool. We'll see how that works. Great, because like Nate said, gamers, 2 things have happened. One, these single studios, these not studios that aren't owned by multiple entities, they're coming out of the gates swinging.
Absolutely.
And the other thing that directly feeds into is gamers have a shit ton more options now than what we've ever had. Because back in the day, if you remember going into Blockbuster or going into your local Video and Tan Express rental place, you went over to the wall, and every game, you had like 150 games to choose from. And you'd pick it up, you'd go home, and there was about a 1 in 10 shot that it was actually going to be something that was good and not shit. Like, because there was so much of what I would call shovelware on the Nintendo, on the Super Nintendo, and even on like the PlayStation, the PS2. Like, there were so many games that were like, that's single A, or that's double A. And you could tell. Now, I can't listen. I am literally playing a game right now that wasn't even like that. America's afterthought for this game and for this developer and this publisher. We don't matter to them, and it's not a AAA title. It's nothing like that. But it has ray traced reflections. It has dynamic shadow mapping. I think that's what a that's what somebody else's commentary who does technical breakdowns said, so that's what I'm going with. Before Wara goes, Thrifty, can you explain what shadow mapping is? Absolutely fucking not. I know the shadows are super crisp, they move with the character, and they reflect shit. And it's really cool. I know that when the main character is standing on a slope, her ankle is bent in, and her foot doesn't clip into the side of the mountain or the side of the ravine. Like, that's I don't even get that all the time in Horizon Forbidden West. Like, Aloy clips into the environment all the fucking time when you're playing that game. And so, like, these studios are starting to punch above their weight class in a very, very noticeable way. Making the draw of these AAA studios and of their games that are bloated, take too long to come out as buggy messes, don't actually give their fans what they want. Like, those studios are getting to the point where we don't need you anymore. We're not going to come crawling back every time you release generic action adventure RPG XY74 for the 85th time with a different skin on it. We don't have to. We don't have to come back for that anymore. Because I have studios that are pumping out shit left and right that I can go play. I have studios I haven't even heard of pumping out crap. Like, the PlayStation Plus, I'm sorry, the PlayStation Plus. The PlayStation State of Play had so many studios that I was like, who the fuck is that? Who's Eclipse? I ain't never heard of these fools. What are they doing? Like, and it's just the state of gaming that we're in. There is this people who think the gaming industry is dying are freaking retarded, or they're Xbox fans. Like,
no, the gaming industry is adjusting, is what's happening, right?
That's
so
it.
as talent is being bled from some of these studios that have people that are extremely talented, right? They're breaking off, teaming up with people. Like, the one thing people seem to forget is, like, the game development community is super, super tight knit. So a lot of the times when these guys get let go, and half the time get let go together off of these projects, or projects shut down, they already got plans to jump in with 10, 15, 20, 30 people to pull up another studio. And that's what you have with Exodus, right? You know, a lot of the former team.
God. Yeah, go ahead.
But that's what I'm saying. It's a lot of the former team who are really the BioWare that we fell in love with, right? They're just on another team now because they had to get away from the conglomerate that is EA, who always wanted to shove multiplayer in their games and all these other things, right? I mean, we just heard it from, you know, the CEO, right? When he said the reason Dragon Age Veilguard failed is because it wasn't live service. What kind of comment was that? but these are the people they had to escape to give us these better, much more grounded games, much more passionate projects that they wanted to do. And now there's so many tools and things for them to do it at a much lower budget, and them allowing them to, like you said, punch above their weight class. So now it doesn't have to be, like, as great as they were, right, for their time, like games like Inside or whatever, did great when they came out. That was typically what an indie was, right? Now we're getting far away from that. We've got studios who, think about it, people forget that essentially Cyberpunk and The Witcher 3 are both indie games, but by how they're developed, right?
I'm sorry,
like, they don't
you
have
say that
systems.
because okay, so guys, if you go watch the Autoplayer podcast, this is not the first time Enate has made that comparison. And when y'all did that, dude, I remember hearing that and, like, my mind got fucked for a second. I was like, wait a second. Wait.
Yeah, right?
What?
You have to really think about it, and you're like, wait a minute,
Imagine
So,
that.
but it's shocking when you think about it that these guys originally, and I watched the story on it. If you guys haven't watched it, it's pretty interesting. It's on YouTube somewhere. You could do like CD Projekt Red founding or something like that. But these guys were, again, no different than everybody else. A group of guys that got together, wanted to make a game, and they started originally burning their games on CDs and delivering them to shops to sell. Like, that's how they started. Like, they weren't even really, like, they were selling them for like $5. And then they got better. The game, people started demanding the games, and they came out with part 2 and part 3, and then they got bigger and bigger, and they are the definition of what it looks like when you reinvest that success back into your studio. And now they've got 2 teams, one back in Poland where they're from, and then a new team in Boston working on Cyberpunk 2078 or whatever they're gonna call it. Like, but that's what I'm saying. Like, they're so big now that they look like, you know, a Square Enix or somebody else, you know, as far as like punching with those guys, right? They can get in the ring with the heavyweights, but they're still independent, right? So you're getting a big shift in these independent either you know, completely independent studios like that, or independent investments where you're having people who have the capital that want to back a lot of these guys that have the experience and stuff, but they don't want to do it with a major publisher in their way, because they know these guys have the capability and know what they're doing. And you know, I explain to people, right, because these things about gamer age always comes up, right? I'm like, we're the ones with the money now, you know. We're not, it's not our parents anymore. Like, we are the people, we are the 30 somethings and the 40 somethings, right? So some of us have gotten way more money, you know, in life, and we see and have grown up with a lot of these guys who we know have the talent and have just never had the right backing. And that's where you're seeing a lot of those investments, like I mentioned earlier, Exodus, right? Like, you're getting these guys who people are like, wait, you and the BioWare guys want to get the band back together? I would have funded that in a heartbeat.
Well, and it was so weird. So hang on, I have 2 super chats that I need to read. One of them I completely missed from earlier. And he's not even here. He had to go to sleep because he said he wasn't feeling too well. But Cosmic Hero with the $4.99. Hey guys, thought I'd stop by and say sup. Hope all is well and keep on staying thrifty. Cosmic, man, I really appreciate you, dude. You are a frequent panel member, and thank you so much. I know you're gonna listen to this tomorrow, so also hope you get to feeling better, man. And then Steven,
I was gonna say, before you go to the next one, real quick.
Yep.
Was Cosmic actually typing in the chat? Because I couldn't see him type in the chat until he did the super chat.
What do you mean?
Like, where did you actually see him like typing other things in the chat? Because I saw it in your, you know how you have the chat in your video?
Yeah.
I seen him typing there, and I was like, are you streaming on some other platform or just YouTube?
Just YouTube. That's weird.
Yeah, that was weird. So the technicalities here, I was just curious because I know Cosmic's cool, so I was like, I was trying to talk to him earlier, but I didn't see him in the chat. So, but yeah, like you said, Big Steven, as usual.
Yeah, man, Steven with the freaking 50. Here's something for your kids when you go on your trip, dude. We can't wait. Oh my God, it's gonna be great. It's nice to see all these small studios stepping up. A lot of these older studios are losing the plot. Better to make games with passion and heart. Abso-freaking-lutely, man. And I think that's the biggest thing, because making games with passion and heart that can be seen, like, and I've mentioned it before, the Shift Up devs, no, damn it, the Stellar Blade devs, Shift Up, they spent an extra year making her hair perfect. They said they could have had the game out a year earlier if they wouldn't have fucked up and like messed with the hair. They could have had it a year earlier, but said, you know what? We got the money. Let's keep it going for a little bit. And like that type of dedication, and I know it sounds dumb, but guys, when I'm playing a video game, especially when I'm playing an indie, I love finding all the little details that they took the time to do. Like watching the main character in Sword and Fairy 7 have her ankle bend on the side of a cliff and it doesn't clip. Like, that's cool to me in an indie, because you don't see that level of detail in a AAA. And so it's really cool when you watch these studios that are just doing everything that they can and actually care. And kind of one of the things I'll say about somebody like a CD Projekt Red is a lot of these studios, when you hear them talk, they march to the beat of their own drum. Yeah. And they don't let other things, I don't want to say they don't let other things influence it, because how many times have we heard Lost Soul Aside was Final Fantasy Versus 13, or Clair Obscur is Final Fantasy X, right? Like, and even the main lead director, one of his favorite games was Final Fantasy VIII. Like, obviously they get influenced.
What you mean is they're chasing the correct influences and not necessarily chasing how much they can monetize, their next game.
Yeah, they're not they're worried about the craft and not the money, which is awesome. Like, we just had our evaluations at work, and I was told that next month they're going to be putting in for a raise for me. Great, fantastic, love that idea. But like, that alleviates more stress on the worker when they know, hey, you're about to get more money. Awesome. Like, and now that I'm not worried about money, I'm sorry, this all ties in. Now that I'm not worried about money, or worried about money less, or whatever, now that somebody is more secure in what they're doing, and that's not the main focus, you become a better developer, a better technician, a better employee in any avenue out there. If you want to know why when you go into a car dealership, every single one of the sales guys there looks stressed out to the max and looks like they're on their last leg and they have no nerves left, it's because every single month they go from a $4,000 paycheck down to zero at the beginning of the month. And they're nervous as shit. Their only focus is money. And so usually those guys burn out and leave. The same exact thing happens with developers and publishers. Why do I know that? Have you ever been a developer and publisher? I have not. But I'm a human. And I know how the human brain works when it's focused on, especially when it comes to working and the psychology behind it, when your employees, or when you tell your employees to be so focused on the bottom line, they no longer have enough time and energy to be passionate about what they're doing, and their only goal is to be able to send out the product to get you off of their back. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like,
Absolutely.
it's, and so it's really good when you see somebody like Sega going, hey, we're not even going to do this through cutting teams, or because normally when you hear, hey, we're narrowing our focus, shit, we're about to get 7 studios closed, 3 more downsized, 2 more consolidated, and tons of people are about to lose their job. No. How are they going to do it? It says they're going to do it through hiring and mergers and acquisitions. So enough glossing of Sega. Let's talk about Sega 2.0. And as everybody can guess, I actually mean Xbox. So let's go ahead and go with the Boomstick XL now. Let's get this in, guys. We've been here for an hour and 10 minutes. Please hit that like button. Helps out more than you know. Also, I forgot to say this at the beginning. If you're listening to this afterwards, leave a comment. If you do nothing else, liking the video and leaving a comment help YouTube see that this video gets engagement, and they push that shit out. It works. I don't know why it works. It works over subscribers. It's the weirdest thing I've ever seen. But, so that would be a great help. Let's listen to Boomstick now. Here we go. I'm going to shut off the metaphor video and get this other one pulled up. Here we go. All right.
In 2025 is going to have the biggest year. It is going to be, once again, ladies and gentlemen, the biggest publisher of 2025.
Biggest publisher of 2025. They're going to have the biggest year in 2025. Okay.
And interestingly enough, why that's even the case, why that's going to kind of put Sony on notice about maybe moving some of their games, not all of their games, over to Xbox, is because Microsoft is going to be putting games not only on Xbox, but they have quite a few games releasing on PlayStation that I would imagine are going to sell pretty well. Indiana Jones has a good shot to sell well there. Right? It's a very cinematic game, even though it might make some of the PlayStation gamers nauseous because they can't play in first person. At least that's what they told us when it was originally an exclusive. We'll see if they, have fixed that problem.
I love that he's even approaching that shit in the sense of he's approaching Indiana Jones that it couldn't be played in third person. Then he's like, at least that's what they told us. He's like, even he knows he's being fed bullshit. And so let's look at this real quick.
Be, once again, ladies and gentlemen, the biggest. Why that's even the case, moving some of their games, not all of their games, over to Xbox, is because Microsoft is going to be putting games not only on Xbox, but they have quite a few games releasing on PlayStation that I would imagine are going to sell pretty well. Indiana Jones has a good...
So I'm going to read something because
Good shot to
Josh
sell well.
Ayers, the producer Josh, is a genius. Here's his comment right here. He said, "What's biggest? By staff? No, that's Tencent. By money? Maybe. But if GTA 6 comes out, it may not be by money. Furthermore, does Sony care about EA or Ubisoft? No. MS is now an EA, so Sony don't care that they are not on the same level." And then, I didn't even see this, son of a bitch. Somebody else did it before I could. Okay, and then Boomstick still ignores Xbox being a small platform. Microsoft is putting games on PS because A, it's a much bigger console platform, and B, its games don't sell enough on Xbox. Guys, hit that new emoji if you're a member here. We can see Beggin' Phil in there. We can see the beggar himself asking you to buy his games like a used car salesman. Go ahead and check that out. But so apparently, so the logic here, follow me. This is good. The logic here is that Xbox putting their games on PlayStation, and PlayStation's gonna see the massive success that they have. Massive. Y'all can't see this, but I did air quotes. Like the massive success that they're gonna have on PlayStation and on Nintendo, and Sony is gonna go, oh my god, we need to put Spider-Man 3, Wolverine, we need to put Uncharted 75, we need to put Ghost of Yotei, we need to put all these games over on Xbox immediately. We have to. There's no question about it. Look what Xbox did. It's great. It's good. Their sales are through the roof. Oh my god, everything worked. People are buying their consoles to be able to play their games on our PS5. I don't know how the fuck they're doing that, but it's working for them. Like, no guys, come on. Please, no, we can't have nice things. We can't have nice things because Jack here says we can't have nice things. Like, look at this crap. Here you go. Where is it? Here it is. Here you go. Rumor: Gears of War collection will be revealed for PlayStation 5 this summer. This doesn't say. Hell, this doesn't even say Stellar Blade is coming to Xbox this summer. This doesn't even say Final Fantasy 16 is coming to Xbox this summer. No. This says that Big Booty Bobby has decided to say, hey, here you go. Here's another one. Here's another one. Matt Booty all over it. Here, take another one from us. We want another one. Phil Spencer, here you go. But this is supposed to make PlayStation bend the knee and go, yep, we're the biggest. We have the best margins. We're making all the money. We're making the most money. And hey, I think it's a good idea. We need it. Let's go ahead and put them over there. These guys are fucking idiots. Let me talk to two people who aren't idiots, though. Kofi, what do you think about what Boomstick said? What, like, is... And also, as the topic, what do you think about the Gears collection coming to PS5 this summer?
Okay. Yeah, I definitely have a lot of thoughts about that. I love Gears. I love Gears so much that as soon as I see something like Warhammer Space Marine 2, I freak out. And shout out to the original Space Marine that came out on 360 and PS3 because I love that series too. So I definitely am very interested at the idea of Gears of War being on PlayStation. I did hear some rumors about some features not possibly being there. Obviously, nothing's confirmed. But I will say, if some sort of co-op opportunity is not available, that's disappointing. I really enjoy that co-op campaign for that, but of course we'll cross that bridge. That would be a day one purchase for me to get, like, I guess the first 3 games, maybe Judgment. I'm here for it. I don't care about 5 though. Okay, so I don't want to beat up on Boomstick directly, but I will say that I probably said
call him Jack if it makes it easier.
My best friend is diehard Xbox. Diehard. And every Monday, we get on a podcast that kind of represents all console platforms, and we yell at each other over topics just like this. What's so interesting to me is we both agree, and I'm kind of replace my best friend. He goes by Pharaoh Bizarre. I'm going to kind of replace my blame to him because he helps me see what the Xbox gaming community says, even though he's a mostly logical thinker when it comes to this competition. Once Xbox started,
I know him.
yeah, you know him, and he's on another cast too. He's been making a name for himself, so much respect. I mean, I've known this guy since I was in 7th grade. So,
and who is this?
But Pharaoh Bizarre.
Okay.
This is like my best friend, pro Xbox guy.
Yeah, I'll show you later. You'll get a kick out of it.
Yeah, you're gonna get a kick out of. I'm sure the internet has come and attacked him because he's gotten kind of a little bit more visibility. But anyway, him and I agree that the console war is over, and he knows my opinion is that as a primary PlayStation gamer, I am doing nothing but winning. Right? I can get Forza Horizon, I can get Pentiment, I can get shoot, I can't even. I'm trying to think. What's the game? Shoot. I'm looking here on my install list. Let's see if I can boost my memory. I'm sorry, guys. What is that game? Yes. Okay. Anyway, you get the point. There's so many titles that are now coming to PlayStation that the inverse will not happen for Xbox. So now, right now, you should really be cheering for the same thing. Oh, not Grounded. Oh, I didn't play it on PlayStation, but I finished on Steam.
Hi-Fi?
It's the rhythm. Yeah, Hi-Fi Rush. Thank you.
Okay.
I don't know why I don't. Oh, because I didn't scroll all the way up. But yeah, so I always say, Pharaoh, man, we're rooting for the same thing now, right? You just want us to buy the games, and you guys are, I hate to say it, a lot like how Sega is, in my opinion, except for you still might have hardware, right? Rumors of continuing hardware, and he kind of agrees. But here's the thing.
What does that mean? Go ahead.
Right, but just like Boomstick, he still hates. So when he saw the news of Gears of War coming to PlayStation, which he said would not happen anytime in the near future, he was like, "Oh, y'all third-class citizens, because y'all gonna get it with no online. So why even get it?" And I'm like, "Why are you still hating? We supposed the console war's over. It's over, right?" So I always found that so amusing that we still go back to the tribalism when now we're just hoping that enough PlayStations sell so that those PlayStation gamers can buy Gran Turismo and Forza Horizon. I don't see the motivation anymore to really bash on them. I just find it amusing that they want to sell more consoles, but they also want to talk about bad things about, I don't know, the version of a Xbox game going to PlayStation. So
okay,
it is.
So Enate, typically I would come over to you, but I want to propose a different line of conversation for you. You can answer the last question, no big deal. But chat has done something here. So, did either of y'all get the beta email?
Yeah, and I signed up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
I signed up.
Okay, awesome. Good. So, here's the thing. Nick in the chat said, yes, but I'll tell you right now, their beta test upcoming PS games on PC. Then JC said, Nick, you're being delusional. PC is for China Hero Project games and live service games. You won't find a new AAA game from PlayStation that are first party. Okay, so in the questionnaire that it makes you fill out about like where you play and stuff like that, it asks you the question of where do you play, and you can select PlayStation or PC. And at the end of it, you can sign up to beta test games, new features, software updates. You know, just if there's a, like when they did the little thing, the welcome screen, not the welcome screen. What am I trying to say? The widget center, where like you can adjust all your stuff now. That was in beta for a while, and people got to test that out. So you can test out new features and all that stuff.
Right.
And so I think, Nick, you've been with the channel a long, long time, and I think you might be reading just a tad bit too much into that. Because I think that that's going to be for how, like, Helldivers 3 works, if they did that, or how, like...
Well, people are forgetting games like Marathon are coming.
Right.
Which are meant to, again, is part of the live service initiative still. Like, they're not dead entirely, but Marathon's beta is apparently imminent. As well as a deep dive or from Bungie on Marathon. So that would be something that you would want on PC to test because number one, it's coming out day one on PC. So that is definitely for that. That is the point of that being included. So yeah, I mean, yeah, thinking that it means everything is coming is no. Like PlayStation has reiterated that strategy 100-fold about how their games work. Um, Again, especially someone who dabbles on both of the platforms and has done so since their inception. Yeah, it's just too much into it. Like, don't get me wrong. Like Omar does the same thing in our chat all the time. Like Omar will sign up and freak out about that. I'm sure he did. I probably just missed it in chat. But Omar hates the whole PC initiative thing, and it's just like
He does.
fear. He has the fear of God in him the day and date happens. Which I look like. Trust me, like I don't want that to happen either, because I'm realistic about understanding how PlayStation's business model works, and I know that that would basically bankrupt PlayStation in under 10 years. So no, I don't think that that's happening, but they have to include that, because when they are launching some of these games, specifically the live service games, or some of their partner games that may want to go through the beta program, some of them are launching on PC, like Phantom Blade Zero.
So
So you do got to keep that in
Right.
mind.
Nick just said this. He says it literally says, "Get your hands on new games at various stages of development to help us create incredible PlayStation experiences." Okay, so Nick, here's the deal. And Wara said it in chat. You're allowed to be upset, man. Listen, as much as the gaming industry and these devs and these publishers have burned us in the past, like it doesn't take. I can throw a stone and hit a game that EA has fucked off on release. I can throw a stone and hit a game that Square Enix has just turned into a debacle on release. Like, it's not hard to find. So when we hear this, or when we see this sign, we automatically go, oh crap. I did it at the end of last year. Not, well, 2 years ago now. Good lord, time flies. I did it at the end 2 years ago, where I was like, man, Sony hasn't showed us a single thing. We got nothing. We don't know what's coming. It's terrible. It's awful. This doesn't seem like it's going to be good. It's going to be bad. And then January hit, and we got the roadmap, and everything was okay. Like, I'm not saying that it's not, and I am the biggest advocate for remaining cautious. Like, I I always find a way to try to look at things from a positive side and from a negative side. And so, like, I get it. I'm not saying you don't have a reason to be concerned. I am just saying that I don't think that's what's going to happen at all. And so, Kofi, what do you think on this, man? Do you think that that's... Do you think it's for the live service? Do you think it's, like, for any and everything?
I'm not sure. I'm really not sure on this one. Yeah, I don't know. I need to know.
Well, if you haven't seen it, I mean, essentially, his concern is that it means PlayStation Day and date, and it's like PlayStation's not going to announce that via like beta sign up. Like, but my point is that it has to be included, because they do have games that are upcoming that if they do have a beta, which they will for a lot of these games, they're launching on PC. So they need to test those games there as well.
So the reason why
that, yeah.
I'm pro this beta initiative, and I'm not concerned about games launching on PC, is looking at PlayStation's acquisition of Nixxes and them being the pioneering port team, and seeing them as a separate entity from the main development team for any IP that we might love, right? That could be the next Spider-Man or Wolverine or whatever. Intergalactic. And it doesn't seem like any of those studios are being asked to release a PC product immediately. Now, if it's a second party like Phantom Blade Zero, yes, or maybe the sequel to Stellar Blade, if we have another partnership, maybe that will be ported, or Kojima's next game, maybe there's something with that. But I always think it's going to be a staggered release. I think it's going to be a staggered release because there seems to be a pride in quality in releasing that title on PC when it's there's this focused development on optimization. I often think of Rockstar Games, when they released Red Dead Redemption. You know, the game had a ton of detail. It was a very special game, but it started on console and then they ported it to PC. I think it still had issues on PC, if I can remember correctly, but
I mean,
them probably taking
everything
the time.
always has issues on PC because there's just too
That's
many
true.
configurations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. Right, because people have AMD or people have NVIDIA, and then there's different processors, and people are like, oh, I want all the cores supported. Like, I'm paying for all these cores, and then the game is only designed for, like, you know, what do you call it, the most common denominator. So, yeah, it's just not a concern for me. Now, if, for example, we were seeing more and more frequently first-party studios simultaneously developing on PC, then I would say, okay, they're going to be spread a little bit more thin, and we're probably going to lose some quality at launch because of trying to support, you know, multiple GPUs and all this stuff. But we've never seen that happen. It's always one, and then Nixes might pick up the hottest titles and get them ported, and then some of the other titles don't even happen, like Gran Turismo 7. Like, there was rumors of that going to PC. I don't know what's going on with that.
Yeah,
Demon's
and
Souls
somebody,
as well.
not Nick and not Wara in chat or anybody here, but we've heard this rhetoric before from the other side of the aisle that they always, because Kofi, you brought up a good point, but that point is always countered by people who are like, well, yeah, but Xbox started out with exclusives and then now everything's going everywhere. And I would counter that by saying, no, Xbox started out as Microsoft Gaming, which put games on PC, and then they moved their gaming division and turned it into Xbox Gaming Division, and then they switched it back to Microsoft Gaming Division, and now they're going back to putting their stuff on PC, or they went back rather to putting their stuff on PC, Xbox, and now they're going everywhere. Like, they're just going back to what they did before. That's different than starting out with this business model that has been in the works and working for 31 years. Like, this isn't something that Sony is new to. It's just not. And so and like I said, that's not something that Nick said or anybody in chat, but like, that's something that I always hear when what you said, Kofi, is brought up. Like, well, that's just the way it's always been done. Well, yeah, that's the way it was always done for Xbox. Well, before Xbox, what was Microsoft doing? Because, like, somehow, I don't know how they did this, but somehow, for the longest time, Microsoft was able to split themselves from Xbox. So, like, I don't know if y'all noticed that. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if y'all noticed that or not, but, like, Xbox, I didn't realize in the early 2000s that Xbox was Microsoft. Had no idea. It was Xbox. It was the new console. It was new on the market. Good job. Cool. Okay. Like, that's as far as that went. And then Xbox 360, once again, had no freaking idea. Xbox One couldn't escape the fact that it was Microsoft. Like, that one was when I started realizing, oh, okay, this makes a whole lot of sense now. Got it. But, like, people don't realize that even today, that, like, Xbox is Microsoft, Microsoft is Xbox. So they're just going back to what they know. And so I really appreciated that conversation, though. That's what we like doing here, man. That's why we interact with the chat. That's why I don't just only read super chats, because I like hearing what y'all have to say. Warawana said, if they did your mom Souls games, what would the currency be instead of souls or runes? Would it be dollar bills or juice? What the fuck? I think Wara hit something. That's what I think happened. So I think he took some of that Australian dust, if you know what I mean. So speaking of, we have let's close this out. I got to get him off my screen. Okay, no more Incredibles 2. Okay, so Sony lays off unknown number of workers at PlayStation Visual Arts Studio. Okay. So, this is the one that I was going to cover hard and heavy until I read the first paragraph. Y'all know I don't normally Well, why did I read it? Because you put it in the freaking chat. That's why. Because you put it in the chat. You put it in the chat. The hell am I supposed to do? Like, you've been with the channel for almost 2.5, 3 years now. Well, just ignore you? Like, I've tried that. You're like a bad penny. I can't just ignore you. So what am I supposed to do? Like, I have to read it. I'm just surprised you didn't say D's nuts after it. Like, Lord help me. So, I normally don't read these articles before I discuss them. I like the spontaneity that it provides me. But I read the first paragraph on sheer accident when I was sending it to these two dudes. And it says, Sony has laid off an unknown number of individuals from its San Diego-based visual arts studio, as well as PS Studios Malaysia. And I was like, oh man, so it's 2 studios. Okay. Daggum. And then it says, according to a Kotaku report. Guys, if you know nothing else about the gaming industry, you need to know that if anything says Kotaku and they're the only ones reporting on it, you run the other fucking direction.
Absolutely.
So,
sensationalism.
Until I see something else, I'm not covering this in the slightest. Because this is Kotaku, and they're in the gaming industry, they are just as bad as 4chan is in the movie industry. Like, 4chan does all these plot leaks of Marvel movies, or at least they used to. They do all these plot leaks of Marvel movies, and they're always wrong. And the only time they get it right is when they're corroborating something that, like, IGN found out, or something that an actual, like, IMDb posted, or something like that. Kotaku only gets it right when they're quoting somebody else. And so if this originated with them, not covering it. It's a visual art studio. It's their, it's one of their mocap studios. Like, not even gonna deal with this. So we're just gonna move on to this fluffy, happy topic of Marvel 1943 Rise of Hydra. That is getting a release window because the voice actor, Kari Payton, basically said, hey, it's seemingly set for 2025. So I'm super hyped about this game. For the love of everything, I cannot... Amy Hennig, there we go. This is her new game. And so this has me really, really excited. I'm going to go ahead and dive into this real quick. And then, as is the usual, I will get the thoughts from Enate and from Kofi. So, this is from the Direct. Marvel 1943 Rise of Hydra release window gets confirmed by voice actor Kari Payton. It might be a superpowered end of the year for Marvel Games and Skydance New Media. The new action-adventure title from Uncharted creator Amy Hennig and her new studio at Skydance New Media is set to take comic book fans back in time. It tells a superpowered tale of Black Panther and Captain America, blah 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 blah. We know all of that. Despite the game being developed for over 5 years, still little is known about it. That's fine. It has been revealed to be a third-person action game. It is seemingly set for a 2025 release and will come to PlayStation and Xbox Series X and S. Is she skipping PC? That would be interesting. Sorry, in an exclusive conversation with the Direct's Russ Milheim at Multicon in Los Angeles, California, Marvel 1943 Rise of Hydra voice actor Kari Payton revealed a release window for the game before an official announcement. When asked about the upcoming title, this is the important part, when asked about the upcoming title, Payton, who plays its version of the Marvel hero Black Panther, disclosed that they are still working, but are thinking it will see daylight around Christmas. Guys, I'm fucking excited. I'm excited.
I definitely didn't expect that to be 2025.
Yeah.
Given we've only barely seen, like, just that bit that we saw where, they were kind of talking to each other on the bridge and whatnot. So,
full cinematic.
That's surprising. Yeah, the full cinematic. Yeah, and that looked really good. That's when they were showing off their new tech. I forgot the human something, where it basically mimics them like perfectly to like a fault. But yeah, I'm excited if that's coming out. Amy Hennig is obviously known for her really great writing. I'm interested to see what she does with the universe. You know, finally getting to get into what this is going to be. You know, this whole storyline they're coming up with, going back, you know, earlier in the, I guess, was it 1980s is where it's taking place, I believe, or is it earlier than that? It's earlier than that. The no, when is it taking place?
Oh, 1943.
1943. There you go.
Yeah.
So yeah,
yeah.
I'm interested to see what they do. I mean, it looks really good. Obviously, we're going back to some of like the OG people who, you know, were involved. Obviously, Cap is old, because he's a super soldier, so he lasts forever. But of course, you know, getting to see who they're choosing for the original Black Panther, where is he in the lineup, and what they do that's unique with this story. But yeah, if they make it this year, I think it could be incredible. I mean, obviously with other major things lining up like GTA 6, I mean, it just boasts for like an insane end of the year. So hopefully they nail it.
So, Kofi, are you a Marvel fan? Does this game strike your interest because of Uncharted ties? Like, what do you think about this?
You strike right on the head. I love Amy Hennig. I think I more feel for her because I remember, wasn't she working on a Star Wars game that got canceled?
Yeah, she was.
Okay, so I remember, you know, and then of course, you know, there was a bit of a tumultuous changing of the guard with Uncharted between 3 and 4, and she kind of like left during mid development. I know that was like a bit of a chaotic time, but I do remember, sorry, this is a bit of a tangent, but I do remember at the end of Uncharted 4, in the credits, there was like a significant section of time where they said a thank you to Amy because, you know, she wasn't really there for the press conference type stuff.
Yeah.
And so I felt bad for her then. Then the Star Wars game got canceled. I'm like, dang, you know, she can't, you know, she has all this clout, like deservedly so, and she's like catching L's. And so for this turn of events, sounds amazing. And you know, I'll be honest, I love Marvel in the movie space. For games, you know, they aren't really the most exciting for me, but because of her and, you know, how much I know she wants to put into these stories, you've got me really interested. I find that pretty also interesting because of this, you know, rumored release date, but I know things can slide. I mean, shoot, we might get an announcement this May or something, and it's like May 2026, which feels more realistic to me. But yeah, you know, long live Amy Hennig, and I will be, you know, one of the first in line, especially for this. So it's great.
We talked about passion earlier, and I want to read some of the quotes from the voice actor, because it's really cool to hear this. Especially Black Panther is one of my favorite characters to ever be on the Marvel screen ever, and it's because Chadwick Boseman is an absolute legend when it comes to acting. The dude's fantastic in every single film he's in. 23 Bridges, y'all need to go watch that if y'all haven't. It is a phenomenal freaking movie.
I haven't seen it, but it was on Netflix, I believe.
Oh, it's so good. Nobody watched it. Like, it's one of his worst performing movies, and it's so good.
Well, honestly, like you said, it's him though. Like, and that's a big difference. People gotta separate, right? It's like Denzel Washington, right? I explained to people, I was like, Denzel Washington could be in I've stopped doubting when I've seen him in anything. This man could be in a movie about watching paint dry, and as much as I'd be like, that makes no sense to me, I know I could go see it and I'd still be entertained. Like, he has a way of making anything entertaining. And Chadwick, funny enough, was actually met him earlier and was one of the big reasons he got into acting and went to acting school, because of like I said, because of him. So
wasn't it like directly because of him? Like there was like
directly. He funded it for him to go. What I thought. Which was so crazy because, like I said, he came out as such an impressive actor, and it was so disheartening when I found out, you know, that he was sick, because I was wondering where he was for a while, you know.
I just thought he was doing Black Panther too.
Yeah, like something like he's just in secret or something, but then we all found out he was sick. Yeah. And it was so sad because, like you said, everything he was in was just top tier. And like you said, the 23 Bridges was one of the main ones I stayed away from because I was like, another regular like beat cop, you know, downtrodden detective. whatever. Like I just gave it all the smoke, before I even touched it, and then I watched it, and I was like, man, he really just elevated this film in a way that very few actors can. And like I said, Denzel is one of the ones that can, right? Like I couldn't tell you, like in retrospect, like think about all the movies that Denzel's in. There's other stars in those movies, but
Sure.
what are all the gifts about when you search them on Twitter or whatever? It's always Denzel's part, or people remember what Denzel did in that movie, even though
Hawke doesn't get training day. Denzel gets training day. Right. Like
Denzel gets training day. It's like I can't even. Before you said that, I couldn't even remember who else was in the movie.
It was, well, because if we
That's
all
how crazy
forget,
it
but
is.
Dr. Dre was in that movie. Like,
See?
like Dr. Dre didn't
That's
catch
crazy.
nothing, but Dr. Dre was in that movie. But like, here's some of the quotes though. If you would have told me when he's asked about playing Black Panther, he said, if you would have told me that, after everything that happened with the Marvel Universe and everything, as a black kid growing up in America, I mean, of course you think I want to be Black Panther. And then you see it on the big screen, and you see Chadwick Boseman bring him to life, and you're just like, you know what? This is better than I ever thought it could be. He says, we want people to play this game and have their entire family sit on the sofa and watch it like they're watching Game of Thrones. He continued pointing out to the game's cinematic qualities as one of its strong suits, which is awesome because my wife and kids actually like doing this with me. But like, that also tells me kind of the age limit of the game and what they're going to kind of push for it. And so I like that. I likes to have games that work and play in such a way that like my kids can watch when I want to, right? I like having a variety. And then he goes on to say, and to be playing him in the video game, playing his grandfather. So he's actually playing T'Chaka. Or no, he's playing T'Chaka's father. Oh, that's going to be interesting. But playing a version of Black Panther and looking on there and seeing that it's me, it's like the most photorealistic. We want people to play this game and have the entire family. Yeah, okay, so we just read that. He said, we're looking for just an incredible cinematic experience for everybody, and I pinch myself. Like, he's appreciative, he's happy, he loves the character, loves what they did with it, and hearing them say this, like, this is a dude that's like appreciative for the opportunity, loves the character, is literally, I can see this dude like in the vocal booth trying to pour everything he has into this because it's his favorite character. Like, this is the type of stuff that makes me excited about it. Sure, the cinematic quality, that's great. The trailer we saw, that's cool. The fact that they want the family on the sofa, that does speak to me a little bit. But like, when voice actors start coming out and talking about their roles, and I automatically don't like cringe or wince about what they're saying, that's a huge victory. So I'm so ready for this game. And I can't wait. If it is this year, that's going to be insane. Because if we can't forget, we still have GTA 6 coming this year that's going to clear the board for everybody else. Like, this year is absolutely shaping up to be one of the craziest and most packed years that I can remember in gaming.
Absolutely.
And I thought last year was going to be a down year, and it turned out every single freaking time we did a show, it was, oh my gosh, can you believe that this just got announced? Can you believe that this is coming out? I thought this was going to be next year. Well, no, now it's this year. Like, every single time. And there were games that we were like, yeah, okay. Sure. Metaphor? Atlas? Okay. Looks kind of okay. Oh, we're going to give you a demo. Oh, this game is fire. Got it. Cool. Like, there was so much from last year. Space Marine 2. We just wanted to blow shit up. The gamers said, hey, they just want to blow crap up. And guess what? Space Marines 2 came out and said, we got you. We're going to let you do all the blowing up you
finish that game.
I still have to play that game, all right? My backlog this year is stupid. I don't even want to think about it, and I keep adding games to it like a damn idiot. But like, I really do. I keep adding games, and it's bad. But Marvel 1943, Rise of Hydra, let's hope we get it at the end of the year. I'm excited for it. And hang on, Denzel helped pay for it. Yeah, I remember him in Soul Plane and how dropped in drawers. Missed the past 45 minutes because of meetings. That happens, man. Maybe your gaming preferences are expanding. Metaphor always looked good. Maybe you know what? My gaming preferences are expanding because you can't help it being around such a diverse crowd. Like, literally, I have people pouring these new genres into me or saying, hey, you need to try this, you need to try this. And like, yeah, like, Kofi, you're getting me into all these freaking JRPGs. I'm now freaking playing a game that I can't understand what the hell they're saying, and I gotta read it, and the localization is terrible. And I every time I see it, I think, you know what would Kofi say if he was sitting on the couch next to me reading this bullshit? He'd probably be having an aneurysm right now. Like, this is terrible. That's not how we say anything in English. You are screwing this up left and right. Like, why? Like, you're talking like Yoda, but if Yoda was trying to speak Spanish. Like, it's terrible. Why are you doing this? And like, I think of that. Nate, when I hear you talk about games, I always think, you know what, maybe we shouldn't be so harsh on games just because they come from a publisher that's failed. If we like the game, maybe we should try it instead of just going off a past performance. But also, you also have your hand in saying, hey, I'm kind of leery of this. And like, so, and guys, anybody in the Discord, I've shouted out Nelson before so many times. And it's because he finds these obscure fucking 16-bit games and throws them in the Discord, and I'm like, yeah, I can see that. That looks fun. And like, it's just these weird things. Cursed Kane, hey Thrifty, have you tried the Kazan demo? It's really good. Yes, I did. I beat the demo
Nice.
after about 95,000 tries with the dude with the 75 swords that kicks your ass at the end in all white. At least I think that's the end of the demo, because that's where I put the controller down and stopped playing the demo. So, I think that was the end. But, yeah, that fight pissed me off. But, yeah, so I really like that game. And so, yeah, I would actually encourage everybody, guys, if you're stuck in a rut, join our Discord and go, hey, guys, what are you playing? Just type, what are y'all playing? And be ready for about 15 different answers, and pick one. They're all good. You'll probably enjoy all of them for some reason or another. But let's get into the last topic tonight. We actually might make it out of here in 2 hours and 30 minutes. Look at us go. Let's get into the last topic of the night. It is not from Kotaku. This is about the Ballistic Moon. The developer Ballistic Moon is effectively closed. So the Until Dawn remake developer Ballistic Moon is effectively closed. That's according to multiple sources with knowledge of the situation. Insider Gaming has learned that the layoffs were publicly announced in September of 2024. That were publicly announced in September 2024 took place. Roughly 40 employees or so were let go. The remaining staff was kept to offer post-launch support and development on Until Dawn after its October release. In December 2024, however, the company quietly laid off that staff as well, resulting in around 20 more developers losing their jobs, so we're up to 60-ish total. Sources say that that only the studio's founders remain and possibly a handful of employees at most. There are no employees in public relations, marketing, or development left. People are sharing bugs they found in the game to make the team aware, but no one is working on patch support for the games anymore, one source said. The studio is effectively closed now. As far as what happened, those who spoke on the condition of anonymity made it clear that the owners attempted to keep things at Ballistic Moon moving forward. Many said that the owners were actively looking for funding and pitching projects, but couldn't secure funding from a new publisher. When asked about Sony publishing another game or future updates to Until Dawn remake for the studio, one source said it was discussed, but never came to fruition. Sony said that Sony said after the game they might greenlight more funding for updates, but looks like they didn't, the source said. So you can go on and read the rest of it. It's from Insider Gaming. You can go check them out. This is all SIE's fault. I would love to know how. I really want to know. Okay. Hero, I swear to God, I need to have you on the show. You were literally one of the first 5 people in my chat ever, and I need to get you on the show. So, anyways, I don't know how this is Sony's fault. I don't know how a second-party studio not owned by Sony that had a deal with Sony to do a remake of a game did the remake. It didn't sell that well, or apparently,
and they did it poorly.
And they did it.
I was gonna say
poorly.
that game didn't. Yeah, it wasn't that well done.
Like,
Yeah.
oh, it's charging $70 now. Okay, yeah, I'll give you that. But like,
again, we spoke about earlier about the importance of appropriate pricing.
Well,
there you go. That's a lesson there.
Here's the deal, though. If the game, and this is where we also talked about quality of product, right? Because if you're going to sit there and say, hey, give me $70, Ballistic Moon can't release the trash that they released.
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
you can't. Because $70 isn't $49. That's why.
$70 feels like if you play this game, there should be all these new things, like really great features, maybe more than, what was it, up to, I can't remember how many players you could play locally, but they should add a lot more players online and maybe new branching storylines or something. That would have made it worth $70 if it felt, and then maybe, tease some DLC that adds, I don't know, some sort of prequel or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, when they announced that game full price, I mean, I just kind of laughed.
Yeah,
I mean, to be honest,
they didn't even do that with the. Oh shit! It was just announced that it was getting a re-release or a remake, remaster. What the fuck? Deacon is the name of the main character.
Days Gone.
Days Gone. Thank you, Lord help me. Like that's like they charged $10 for that Joker if you own the game. Like they charged $10 whole. That's it. Hey, guess what? There's a difference when Until Dawn remake showed what it was versus Final Fantasy VII remake showing what it was.
Absolutely.
One was worth $70 and one people stayed away from. So, Hero, in that aspect, I will give it to you that Sony should have seen the quality that it was and said, you know what? We can't get 70 out of this. But Ballistic Moon still made the product. Ballistic Moon still did this. And what tells me it's even worse than just the Until Dawn remake is the line on here where it says, many said that the owners were actively looking for funding and pitching projects but couldn't secure funding or a new publisher. So what this tells me, and the next line where Sony has not given them any more money or said they would give them any more money, like, that tells me that this studio they didn't hold up their end of the bargain either. And so, Chad Stud, yeah, maybe I'm being a little bit of a pony here. Sure. Ponies unite. Like, Chad Stud, it's Sony's fault for letting it release in a poor state. That's the only thing I could think of. You know what? So you're right. So, like, Sony did Q&A. They're supposed to. And then they need to make sure the game is going to release in a good state. It didn't. And not only that, but the studio seems creatively bankrupt at this point because these other projects and these other fundings that they're trying to get can't get picked up.
Exactly.
So, Enate, I can't remember who went first or last time. Enate, we'll start with you, man. What do you think about this, man? Is it Sony bad? Ooh, can we blame this on Concord? Can we find a way to blame this shit on Concord?
I'm sure someone will.
Go ahead.
But yeah, man, I just think, I mean, for one, I think they just kind of overestimated the popularity of this whole franchise in the first place, right? Like I told you, when the remake was announced, I was like, oh, okay. Like, I guess. Like, and it's like, I've played it, right? Like, I played Until Dawn, and like, it wasn't even like their most well received of that anthology, right? Like, a lot of the other ones sold better. So, like, no one was really clamoring for this in the first place, right? So to remake it, put all this effort into it graphically, to enhance it for modern day, and then release it buggy and broken, and then ask for $70, which, I mean, it was just crazy work. Like, that is a complete recipe for disaster. I don't know who was specifically in charge of, the testing phase. The actual Q&A, not the certification. Because in certification, something could pass and just might not show up in that one-off instance, that there was an issue, right? So I mean, that happens all the time. We've all played a game where we're like, oh, my experience was really great, and then you talk to somebody else and they're just crashing all the time. So you can definitely have very different experiences there. But if everything was in-house, I mean, that's 100% on them. Which I'm pretty sure it was. I mean, it was completely outsourced for them to make it, and bring it to not only consoles but PC day one, with the remake. So I mean, to me, it sounds like the studio was just struggling. They struggled to release a full quality product, and they struggled to secure funding for whatever else was going on in trying to go on to their next project. So I mean, honestly, it sucks. You never want to see anybody lose their job. But if it's a result-based industry, so your last result wasn't really that good and isn't going to win any prizes. So what do you expect people to think of if you're not bringing something absolutely insane to the table for your next project that's going to instill confidence in a new investor, which they couldn't manage to do outside of PlayStation in the first place? And then, like you said, your last project says a lot about the quality you're capable of delivering. So you put those together, and I think it was just, it was just their time. Maybe
it was their time. They had to go to the farm upstate.
Yeah, like it was just their time. And it is not that you don't have a group of talented people, right? Because obviously game development is hard, and if it was easy, we'd all do it, right? But this comes back to things that I explained to people about direction and the reason why you see differences in the way different studios work, right? One of the first things I explained to somebody, you see a lot of gamers do this, where they're like, oh, how come they couldn't do this, or how come they couldn't do that, and a lot of other things, right? And I'm like, I know it went wrong. And it's like, no, the first thing you should know is that we don't really know what went wrong unless we're actually told directly, right? Because each studio develops games in a very different manner in a completely different environment, right? Like the way that they go about developing Cyberpunk 2078 versus PlayStation's in-house development versus Fable's development are all very different studios. You could go work at each of those for a week and be like, game development, I have no idea. This game development works completely different at all these studios. You'll come away with 3 different versions of how things work. These guys storyboard first, these guys do this first, these guys are over here on this phase, and they did this before these guys did this, and that's just the way it works, right? But ultimately, whatever you do at a studio, the final product is what's going to be judged, right? And their final product just wasn't up to snuff. And when that happens, like I said, in a results-based industry, you go away. I mean, it happened to Microsoft with the Zune and all the other products that they put out. Mixer, went away despite all its good things, 4K streaming and all these other things. But when you just can't keep up enough, or you can't produce the results you need, then you eventually got to get cut, and they couldn't manage it, man. I think it's just that simple.
Shoot, I just lost my train of thought. I'm sorry, guys. I just had something I wanted to add to this, and I'm sorry, it's getting late for me.
It is getting late.
I really wanted to say something. What was the last thing you were just saying, Enate? Oh my gosh, I'm sorry, guys.
Just the way studios develop.
Yeah. That's exactly. Thank you. Okay, so I'm very curious. So I guess a little bit about me. I work in development, but I don't do game development, so I will not claim any experience of that. But the one thing that I found interesting about this game is a lot of what would have impressed us about this make would have been like the type of developer that would be skilled at enhancements, right? Doing the whole 4K, making sure it runs well on HDR, getting high frame rates, and not necessarily anything creative. And I feel like maybe the soul of whoever was there was more of a creative team and not necessarily skilled in enhancements. Maybe something that Nixus should have been doing. So I think if you really wanted this game to be amazing on PC and on the next PlayStation or PlayStation 5, Nixus should have done that. And this dev team should have been working on something small, maybe something low risk, to show that they still had the creative juices to still exist. Because when I look at what I look at as Ballistic Moon's competitor, which is Supermassive, right? Aren't they doing that new space horror interactive one that looks really cool? I forget what it's called.
Yeah, they are.
I kind of look at as Supermassive and Ballistic Moon as kind of like in the same vein of this narrative storytelling, which I love, by the way, and it's all good. But I think that Ballistic Moon would have been much more in their space, doing like creating something, not necessarily just remastering something. That's just my take on it. It just feels weird that it was so poorly done when Sony has so much resources internally, and maybe Until Dawn wasn't considered quality or not impactful enough to take resources from Nixus. But then wait and allow Ballistic Moon to make maybe a smaller project, maybe take half the budget of what it took for Until Dawn and try something else, take it in a new direction. They didn't do that.
So Chris Coleman in the chat pointed something out. He said, who was in the charge of the decision to do a remake with UE5 versus a remaster with the updated Decima engine? That would have been cheaper and paid off with less bugs, bad use of resources, or management. And then Josh threw a kicker on that said the biggest error was probably changing the engine to Unreal and not Decima. And so, there's a lot of decisions, and like Enate said, at the end of the day, Ballistic Moon did not cut the mustard, and it sucks. But also, then Stephen Leon said, I blame Redfall. Yes, absolutely. It does suck. I'm not championing them losing their job, but I also know that the people who left BioWare lost their job, and they formed a new studio. There's people who leave Ubisoft and then meet up with 3 of their buddies, and they form a new studio. If what Kofi just put out there, if that is true and they were more creative minded, then these people are going to go form their own studio or get brought into another studio. They will be okay. And if it was their fault that the game released like it did, then they're not going to be in the industry. And sadly, the one thing I disagree with Nate on is when he said you never want somebody to lose their job. I have definitely worked with people before that I wanted to lose their job. So I can't sit there and say I ain't never wanted somebody to lose their job before.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, if they're bad at it,
right? That's what I mean.
And it's like, you got to make up for the slack. I mean, that's different, though.
Right, but these studios, if they're doing these games and they're releasing these games and they look like shit, or they're not up to snuff, or they're not up to par, or they're crap, or whatever, I don't necessarily want those developers developing another game. Have a good day. This probably wasn't for you. Thanks for giving it a shot, and bye-bye. That's kind of. But
that's why I was saying that's why I was speaking to how you develop a game was important, right?
Yeah.
Because you can have somebody really talented. It's like athletes, right? You can have a super talented athlete with a terrible coach, right? Yeah. So but you've also seen the difference, right? When you have a decent team with an amazing coach, and he can coach that entire team up to be at an entirely different level. And that's the difference a lot of times with making games with different companies. And that's why I was saying when you go to each of these companies, you would see the process that they go through and how different it is per studio, despite them all ultimately coming to the conclusion that they're developing games. But how you do that and how you go about that is really important. And if you pay attention to the industry and listen to people when they're leaving studios that they've worked with for a while or been to a number of studios, people who really have longevity in the industry, you hear the difference in what it was like, and you can tell when they loved and they really learned something and achieve something incredible in their career. And a lot of times, look, I know you say you're ponying and stuff, but this is just accurate. People can hate all they want, but listen to people when they're leaving Sony Santa Monica Studios. Listen to people when they're leaving Naughty Dog in these top tier pedigree studios. Insomniac, half the time they sound like they don't even want to leave. You know what I mean? They're just trying to do something different, but they're just like, I've achieved something I never thought I would. My animation is at an all-time high. I've done things here I never thought I would do or was even capable of. That's what you want to hear when someone is coming or leaving from a project, right? That means that team helped you take your craft to the next level. And everybody isn't that team, because somebody's out there making My Little Pony Adventure 3. It sucks for them, but somebody's making it, and they're not making these new amazing IPs and so on and so forth. But that's what I mean. There's the paint by number studios, there's the remastering studios, there's lots of people who do lots of different things, right? There's lots of support studios, right? We hear about them all the time. You see them in the credits all the time. And then there's the upper echelon and what they're capable of delivering. And when they deliver something, it's special, right? And I think that's what I'm saying is the difference between each of these teams and what they're capable of delivering. And like I said, in their case, whatever it was just didn't work out for them. Whether it was whether it was the coaching, like I said, the people leading the team. Like this is stuff that I've listened to and heard developers speak on, right? A lot of people are familiar with Rob in the community, right? He has worked at multiple studios before he went to work at PlayStation. Then he went on to work at Naughty Dog, Sony Santa Monica, and eventually Bend, right? And he talks about how different it is and how grateful he is for his for his time at PlayStation, because he explained and broke down the differences in like being rushed to get something done that you don't have time to do, versus the reason why he stayed at PlayStation and continues to want to stay there is because he's like imagine being told you want to create these games the way that we know, like look at something like The Last of Us Part 2, right? The animation quality on that is insane, right? But the reason all that stuff comes out in that way is because he said there's a guy that comes around and he goes, he talks to him and he goes, one of the things he'll never forget, one of the experiences, hey, what that animation you guys were working on for, I think it was God of War at the time, and he goes, where are you guys at with that? And he goes, realistically, I know you guys wanted it in the next 2 weeks, but he was like, if you really want it the way we want to do it and the best that we could do, I need 5 weeks or something like that. The guy says, yeah, no problem, you got it, and checks off the box and walks away. But that's what I'm saying. like he was like, what? Like he was like shocked, you know what I mean? Like, wait, you're gonna give me the time I need to produce the best work? They're like, yeah, because that's what we want from you.
It pisses me off so much because I'm torn, right? And I think most of us are. If you're a gamer and you love gaming and you love new games and you love getting these new experiences and you love these studios, like, here's the deal. I am pretty loyal to some of the PlayStation studios, okay? I just am. Like, they can release stuff and
But they earn that from you. You're not just saying that. They earn that.
They absolutely earned it. And so, but with that, like, sometimes that blind loyalty does make it sound like I don't care what they release, I'm still going to buy it. But the flip side of that, though, is, and we've said it before when we've been talking about, 30 frames per second is the target on the Series X and S. Like, when games come out, and when a PlayStation title comes out from a PlayStation studio, I do not have to worry. My first question is never, is it 60 FPS? Is it going to have 4K? Is it going to have a VRR option? I never ask those questions. I don't have to. Like, I just know they're there. And if they're not there at launch, they'll be there in a week or two. Like, they're coming. Like, it's going to be there. And it's that pedigree that keeps me coming back. It's why if Guerrilla said tomorrow, hey guys, we have decided to pause, and we're going to get into this because Last of Us Part 3 is probably not coming for a long time, and I'm happy as hell about that. So, we might get into that, but like if Guerrilla comes out and says, hey guys, we wanted to go ahead and we're going to stop everything Horizon, we're going to take a break from it for a couple years. We have a title that we're working on that we really believe in. We've done the story already. We're doing all this, but it's going to be out in about 3 years. In the meantime, here in about a year or so, we've been working on this platformer. We've been working on this other project. Not a live service, not anything like that, but like a normal single-player style game or even a co-op title, whatever. I would probably look at it and go, you know what? That's not my genre, or that's not my thing. But at the end of the day, it's Guerrilla. So, whether it's my thing or not, it's Guerrilla. So I don't care. I'm probably going to try it out. Same thing if Sony Santa Monica came out and said, you know what? We're going to release the space game that's coming out from them.
Galactic.
Well, that's Naughty Dog. But
oh, you said
Santa Monica. I said Santa Monica.
Sorry, yeah.
Corey Balrog's game.
Yeah.
Like, the space game coming out, I'm not.
If it turns out to be a space game at this point,
Yeah,
right.
Because
right.
the guess, you got to remember, the guess was one of them are making a space game, but we don't know what the other game is, and it turns out
that's
Intergalactic
true.
is a space game.
That's
so
true.
their game might not be a space game.
That's actually really true because it was because we didn't know what was happening, but like.
Yeah, we didn't know which one. We just heard there was a sci-fi game.
And
we definitely know Intergalactic is.
I have the trailer playing for Soros right now. I don't have to wonder if that game's going to be 60 FPS. I don't have to wonder
Absolutely
if that
not.
game's going to be high quality. I don't have to wonder any of that. You know why? Because it's a PlayStation studio, and over the past 30 years that I've been gaming with PlayStation, they have earned every ounce of goodwill imaginable. So like somebody says Concord, and I'm so happy that that is finally slowing down on becoming the default response. It's still out there, but thankfully it's slowing down. But about once a week you'll hear some dipshit go, oh, they lost 400 million on Concord, how about that? Ha ha ha. Xbox Phil Spencer, please tap my ass. Like, this is what you deal with when you have people that wouldn't know quality if it bit them on the leg. As opposed to us who look at these games and who've been gaming at top tier quality forever. What's up, Dizzy Delta? How are you? Like, these people we've been gaming at top tier quality forever, for a really, really long time. And so when you show me something like an Indiana Jones, it might be great, it might look cool, it might run fine. It looks like it's janky as hell, and it is not up to the standard that I have set for myself being a PlayStation gamer. So when it comes over, not playing it. I probably will play it if it goes in PlayStation Plus because I've already paid for the service, but like not playing it with my own money being dedicated just for that game. It won't happen. And that's the barrier of entry that I think these studios are going to have to get. They're going to have to get into their mind, like what Sega is doing. Hey, we're good at this. We need to do this. Once we earn their respect, sorry guys, I know I'm talking a lot. CD Projekt Red, great example of this. Witcher, Witcher 2, Witcher 3. Through all of those, they earned the respect of their gaming community. Then they did Cyberpunk and almost lost it, but had enough goodwill banked up because of Blood and Wine being one of the best DLCs ever in video gaming, and The Witcher 3 being one of the best told stories with Geralt of Rivia and Ciri and Trish and Lilac and Gooseberries, like all of these things. And so they built up this goodwill, and then they go and fix the game, release a DLC that's pretty much a whole nother game for it, and everybody loves them again because they had that goodwill. Xbox right now doesn't have any of that. There's a lot of these studios that are trying these really elaborate projects that are make or break, studios on the line. If we don't succeed, we shut our doors, and it's not working because they haven't built up the goodwill to release a game in a semi-broken state and have people go, you know what? I'm still going to buy it and give these fools a chance. So I ranted a lot there. I am sorry to the other two guys here.
No, you're good, man.
Yeah, you're good.
There's so much about gaming that has... There's a lot of bad actors when it comes to people online and what folks talk about and how they portray certain things and why they think people are Sony fans or why they think people are PlayStation fans. Like, it's because nobody has matched the quality that I expect on a consistent basis, like PlayStation Studios.
I agree.
Yeah.
And that even my lovely Square Enix, they're kind of in the shitter in my head right now.
Yeah, Square's definitely got to find their direction right now.
They do. At this point, I don't know if I want to see a Final Fantasy 17. Like,
you know, I said the same thing the other day.
Wow.
Did you
So
really?
wait, you guys are down on Square Enix right now? Wait. Catch me up.
I am massively down.
As it pertains to their major property in like something like a Final Fantasy, right?
Kingdom Hearts,
like
Final Fantasy.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. Like I love what they did on the side notes. You know, with obviously Octopath Traveler 2 was amazing, and some of the other like smaller side projects. But like you said, like the big stuff, it's like honestly, like you are supposed to be like Square was supposed to be like the front runner. They're supposed to be the example of what current modern day JRPGs, at a AAA level are supposed to be. And they just kind of feel lost in the sauce right now. Like I said, I like 16 for what it was, right?
16 broke me.
I don't love 16 either, so I mean, I'm with you on that.
I want the third Final Fantasy 7. I will say that. I want the third Final Fantasy 7.
I mean, you're gonna get that. Like, they're not gonna, they're not gonna back off of that project at this point. But I need them to find themselves as an RPG studio again, specifically, because they're doing this thing again where they are chasing other ideas, and I get it, because again, like Yoshi P's idea, and this is the stuff I have to explain to people, right? Like, I think Yoshi P's a great creator, right? But part of the thing people do not realize, and even Kojima talks about this, right? The isolation that a lot of Japanese developers have can be like really detrimental, right? So like one of the things, if you look at a bunch of interviews Yoshi P did before Final Fantasy 16 came out, his entire idea was, as long as we make this action, like the rest of the world outside of Japan will love it. That's all we need to do. That's all we need to do. We just need to make an action game, because they don't like turn-based, and it's going. We're gonna sell 20 million units. We're gonna go, Elden Ring numbers, like that. That's watch every, like, a bunch of the stuff. Whenever he mentions the choices and the reason why they made those choices, not because it was a passion project and they really wanted to do that and they loved what they did. And like I said, some of the boss sequences and stuff, beautiful, right? Like, they didn't miss the mark when it came to a beautiful created game.
Sure.
But they missed a bunch of other stuff that have to do with making an RPG.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was basically Devil May Cry with Quest. You know, the Final Fantasy edition. Like,
I hate that gameplay. I really do.
yeah, it killed me, right? And it was like, even as an action game, it was like, what happens when you go in the middle of things, right? You start to, you're not as good as the action game, and now you're no longer as good as the RPG because you're somewhere in the middle trying to mix both, and now you are just kind of somewhere in the middle, and you create something like that, right? Like I said, like the combo system and stuff is not as deep as the Devil May Cry, right? You know, that was a comparison, right? That even the Devil May Cry combat designer was on the project, but go back and play, and I don't even like this game, mind you. I don't really like Devil May Cry 5, but even in the demo, you can tell the depth of the combat and the combos and the juggling and all the different things they do with all the different characters. The combat system is so deep and so ingrained because that is what Devil May Cry is, right? They weren't mixed about what they were doing. And I get it. Like I said, I know some people love Final Fantasy 16 to death, right? You know, they were in love with the story, the characters, all that stuff. It's not to say you can't be in love with any of that stuff. I have the platinum for the game. I obviously played the game enough. But at the same time, you know, if you're losing, and this is something I had to ask people, I was like, if they name that game something else, how much would they have to remove for it to not resemble Final Fantasy? And I was like, ultimately, a chocobo and like 2 or 3 monster references, you know, of the summons, and it could have literally been called anything else.
Yeah,
and that's
the problem.
So like, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. It's based. So I'm actually the opposite. I loved the combat of the game. I thought it was very basic. It was not very engaging.
It was basic.
As an action game, it was fun.
That's a perfect way to describe it.
As an action game, it was very, very fun. I hated the journey, and that was the problem. That was.
I actually like the journey.
No, but the ending was such a letdown. It kills the rest of it. It killed the entire experience for me.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you and I were talking about that.
Yeah, it literally kills the entire game for me. I didn't play the DLC. I don't want to. I actually traded away my copy, and I kept the map. I kept the map that I got.
The way you said, I don't want to.
No. I kept the map from the Steelbook edition that I bought, and I traded away the Steelbook edition because I was done. That game will not be played again on a PlayStation that I own. It won't. I do not like it. And here's the hypocrisy though. So everybody in the chat is probably thinking to themselves, Thrifty's one of the biggest Square Enix nut huggers I've ever seen. There's no way if they released a Final Fantasy X remake that he wouldn't all of a sudden love Square Enix again. And you know what? You're absolutely correct. Like, you are 100% right. Like, if they came out and said, hey guys, Final Fantasy VIII is getting a remake, Final Fantasy X is getting a remake, hey, we're going to take Final Fantasy 13 and we're going to bring it up to standard. Like, yeah, I'm there day one. If they said, okay, go ahead, please jump in. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, you guys really brought me back because I remember being disappointed with 16, but I think Rebirth helped me forget because I loved Rebirth so much. And then I'll be honest, I'm late to the party with these other 3 smaller gems. So Enate wasn't talking about smaller games, but you know, I'm in the middle of Visions of Mana, and I find Visions of Mana so charming, and I love so I remember we were criticizing Square Enix for spreading, throwing stuff at the wall and hoping to see what sticks. Visions of Mana to me feels like a bit of a step in a different direction. I notice a lot of details about this game on PlayStation 5 that I don't see about other games, like how much of the sound effects go through the DualSense controller. Some of the tools in combat feel extremely unique. And so I'm having such a good time with that. And then I've got Romancing Saga 2 Revenge of the Seven sitting next, and then I've got Dragon Quest 3 Remake sitting next. So when I think of Square Enix, I'm like, they're going to have a lot of my time in 2025 catching up on those 3 games in my backlog. And then of course, then we got like things like Front Mission. So I guess, like, from my perspective, I'm kind of like up on Square Enix compared to 2 years ago when, Octopath Traveler 2 didn't sell well. Remember, they were complaining about sales. So, I don't know. I guess this is my 2 cents.
See where you're at with it, right? I love all that stuff you're talking about, and I don't even like Visions of Mana. I don't like
Really?
I don't like any of the Mana series.
Wow.
But
Okay.
but I agree with what you said about it. So, but that's the difference with me and versus a lot of other Twitter gamers and stuff. I can admit when something looks good and it did exactly what it was supposed to do, even if it's not for me.
Absolutely.
I'm not a fan of that series, but I think it looked great. I hope it did great, the whole 9 yards. I know a lot of people who are Mana fans, and they're gonna love it, right? And I agree with you on all those other counts. They're doing great, but for me, their biggest problem is they are no longer the standout developer when it comes to that major AAA, like, can't touch this, like, JRPG that is their mainline Final Fantasy. Like, that's the issue. Like, remaking Final Fantasy VII is whatever. That project has sailed, right? They're going to improve on that, just like they did remake to Rebirth, and now into the third one. Like, they have they're not directionless on that, right? But they feel directionless to me with Final Fantasy, right? Because when I say that, right, it's like I had this question, right? And like I said, I don't hate 16. What I'm saying is, like I told you a minute ago, how much of that would it take to remove to just call that a different game? And that's the problem. Like, you know how much it would take to remove from Final Fantasy 8? Everything. Because the everything about that game screams Final Fantasy. The same thing with 10, the same thing with 6, and all these versions of all these other Final Fantasies we love. And I was like, I had to tell people, how far do you go away from a title or a specific game to the point where it eventually becomes something else? And like, that's my issue. And Square doesn't want to let that go because the Final Fantasy name is what they're banking on for whatever they decide to do with it, right? So they don't want to call it, Hero's Journey 47, because no one knows what that is. They want to call it Final Fantasy because they're banking on the goodwill and the longevity of that name, Final Fantasy. No matter what they attach it to, it's going to do something for them, right? Now, obviously, in our experience, we're very aware that, a lot of their titles are not breaking any freaking records when it comes to sales. So clearly that name doesn't carry the same weight, right? As it used to. You had Strangers of Paradise that came out as well, and that has Final Fantasy in the name. But I mean, it did okay, right? Nobody hated it. There's nothing wrong with that game, right? It was an offshoot. That was the entire point. But it still had Final Fantasy attached to it. It's part of the Crystal stories and all that other stuff. But they're banking almost too much on the name and not necessarily entirely focusing on being that world-class leading, untouchable AAA JRPG studio. And that was like the thing, right? Everybody was always below them, right? Like, I love Level 5, right?
100%.
And all the things that they do. But Level 5 never produced AAA JRPGs the way that Square Enix did, right? They produced some really great stuff. White Knight Chronicles, plenty of stuff that I'm sure we both played, right? And I loved a lot of what they did, but I've never looked at Level 5 and went, I expect groundbreaking PlayStation level AAA, JRPG out of them. I expect AA, maybe leaning on AAA, depending on who's backing them.
There's almost no competition in that space.
There's
like,
no
Tales
competition.
Makes like a AA. Like, I would say Tales of Arise is like AA, right? But
Yeah,
great
but
AA.
But that's like
Excuse me?
that was their first time leaning into AAA, right? Like, they're
Okay,
kind of
I'm
leaning
sorry.
as far as graphically.
My bad.
No, you're good. But they're leaning into that, right? With the Tales and the
Yeah, they're
but
getting
guess
very
what?
close.
But guess what? When they finally did that, they got more interest in the franchise than they ever had, and you had a ton of people looking into it because, hey, man, that game looks great. Which is one of the big things that we said for a long time. We've had this discussion on other shows where we were like, RPGs have to step up to the modern day. And like I said, it's not just us. Again, Kojima, again, if you pay attention to when he actually speaks, and he's not just taking pictures with celebrities, you know, he actually talks about some really deep stuff about development and the limiting factor for a lot of Japanese developers and how they struggled with the turn of the HD era. I spoke about that, right? When I was like, man, my frustration is like, why do we still have that complete flat grass texture from like the PS2 era in a lot of these games, right? And it's like, it's not just that I don't want them to, they don't have to look like The Last of Us. I want them updated, because when they stay too far behind, then it's depending on just me and you out here to pick them up, because other people are like, well, that game doesn't quite look like a PS5 game, and I don't really know if I want to play that. And I know how these gamers think, so I'm like, I need you to update, and I need you to get to the standard that is like a Tales of Arise, so that people can look at your game and be interested. You know, obviously when it's not stylized in a specific manner, like Octopath Traveler 2, which is very beautiful in its very own specific way, but everybody can't do that.
Oh, like really quick, you know, something that comes to my mind of a franchise that continued to use the same old engine over and over, and then finally updated the engine and sold great, though it's not a JRPG, Monster Hunter. There was this time where on not, what is it? Oh my gosh. On, what is the name of the handheld? I can't remember the name of the DS.
The DS?
It was like Monster Hunter 4 had 4 or 5 iterations, and then finally when they went to World and they got the engine updated, it was, I think, the best-selling game at the time. I know Wild has beat it now, but World was a huge jump forward. And then when I think of
World is still the best-selling. It's just that Wilds did the climb to 8 million faster. That's what it broke. Yeah. Wilds, and shout out to Wilds. I love Wilds so far.
But when I think of like games that have a JRPG aesthetic that might be similar to Level 5, I think of a lot of these Chinese developers making these like gacha style games like Zenless Zone Zero or Wuthering Wave, where the animation is out of control. Like you're looking at these fight scenes, you're like, why can't my JRPGs have more of this? And I to be honest, I think if some JRPG like a Tales or a Final Fantasy, I mean not Final Fantasy, but like some Square Enix new IP, or let's say Level 5, because we know Level 5's kind of about to go crazy with some new IPs. If they can hit the production like you're saying, or something unique like Zenless Zone Zero, or you know Hoyoverse style with a real story and not crazy gacha that makes me upset.
And it's not gacha, exactly.
Yeah. If it's not gacha, I think it's gonna sell crazy.
You ain't even gotta go there with me. But I can tell you, look up a game called Epic 7. Y'all should, in the chat, just look up Epic 7 and watch somebody play it. You couldn't tell me that game wouldn't be a banging, turn-based, great JRPG, but it is a gacha game, and that is the problem. Me and a couple friends, we played it for like a year. But eventually the gacha mechanics and the way that mobile games are built ruins the game, because you eventually get to a point where progression is halted and it's, tries to force you essentially to purchase the game. And it's like, man, if this was just made into a standardized JRPG, it would sell like crazy. The animations are off the chart. I'm talking like competing with like Demon Slayer like type of animation, when they're fire breathing and dancing all over the screen and doing some of the most crazy animations you've ever seen. Like some of these characters have the most insane skills, and it's like again, it's just ruined by that gacha stuff. So yeah, like you said, a lot of them need to take that, and that's what ruins it, right? That's what's drawing people towards that, right? MiHoYo, right? When they did Genshin Impact, that game is beautiful. Yep. It got people in, and they wanted to play these characters, and they look so great. And but a lot of Japanese developers and stuff didn't capitalize on that, and MiHoYo just ran away with it, right?
That's it.
So it's like it sucks, because we're like, dang, can we just get that wrapped in a nice JRPG package without all this gacha crap entangled all in it? But that's what we're running into. And the same thing right now, people are going crazy. It's all over the place. You've probably seen it across y'all pages at some point. But I forget the Hidden Ones, demo that came out. It's a mobile game, but if you look at the combat, it looks like you're literally fighting inside of an anime. Like the hand-to-hand combat.
Oh,
Yeah, it looks insane. I'll have to send it to you. But if you guys look up the Hidden Ones again, it looks graphically pleasing. The combat looks intense. But lo and behold, it's a mobile game. So if you've ever played one, you don't see it yet because they're just showing off the game. But the mobile trappings are in there somewhere because you're not just going to download the game. Yeah, there's no end. The whole idea is to string you along as long as they can to eventually get you to purchase something, while they try to trap whales in the game. Due to spend $68,000 on trying to draw their favorite waifu. Yes, that is a real story. Y'all can look that up. A guy actually spent almost 70 grand to draw a character in Sony's Fate Stay Night video game for mobile. And I don't even know how to explain it. He had to go to like rehab and all this other stuff. Like, it was insane. This man spent a Mercedes trying to draw a character. He eventually drew it, but Jesus, I don't know where he would have ended if he never drew that character.
So, to kind of wrap this back in, Corey Massey just said something that I absolutely freaking agree with. Him and Chris are having a conversation about the Final Fantasy stuff. And he said, Chris Coleman, it should have been an offshoot of the, talking about 16, should have been an offshoot of the main Final Fantasy franchise, like Stranger of Paradise, anything except a mainline Final Fantasy game. And I fully freaking agree, because when I think back to their other offshoots, like their other, like, the bigger game offshoots, like a Stranger of Paradise, but I'm going further back.
There you go.
You had, like, Dirge of Cerberus, right?
Yeah.
That was a shooter. That was effectively a shooter. Like, you
Type Zero is kind of like an offshoot.
Type Zero is an offshoot. It's not part of the main numbered entry. Like, and that's where you can explore. That's where you can be innovative. That's where you can, well, not innovative. That's where you can try different genres, or, hey, how does this genre work with a Final Fantasy skin on it? What does that look like? Like, that's where you do that. You do not do that in your mainline series. You just don't, because you're going to alienate your fan base. And to say, it's okay, we'll bring in more fans to replace the fans that we lost and gain us more, I think they were a little bit... I think
they were overconfident about people sticking with it and then gaining new fans, and they lost. They ended up balancing out and still selling about the same based on the amount of people they lost.
Yep, because I don't. Yep. It's. Anyways, that's. I don't want to take up any more of these guys' times. I'm probably gonna do a video coming up soon. No, you're fine. I'm probably gonna do a video coming up soon about The Last of Us Part 3. And what Neil Druckmann said about that. Long story short, it ain't coming for a hot minute. But with that being said, we're going to go ahead and call it. Let's start at the top. Enate, where can folks find you?
You can find me on Twitter or Blue Sky at The Real Enate. Out here playing these games, or usually every Saturday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time on the Otter Players podcast. If there is enough news to be had that week. But yeah, like I said, most of the time, gaming or watching anime is where you can find me.
And you can find his links in the description below. Once again, Otter Player podcast, Saturdays, great show, fantastic. If you show up for nothing else, show up for the interactions between Morgan and Omar, because they are priceless.
Oh, that's funny.
You have never heard two people who were not related act more like a brother and a sister than those two, and I am not even kidding. It's hilarious.
She will not let Omar get away with nothing.
Not a damn thing.
Wow, I need to find out who this Morgan is.
Dude,
Okay, I don't know the first.
There was one moment where I was like, she said something, and Omar was like, I'm just not gonna talk. And I was like, fuck.
Wow.
I was like, okay.
Yeah, Warwana exclusively shows up for the Omar Gets Drag segment, because even if we don't have one scheduled, he usually walks himself into a situation during the podcast. I'm like, look, I think last week we tried not to drag him, and he was like, oh yeah, one more thing, and I was like, oh, here he goes.
Oh,
and sure enough, we ended up
Sounds
dragging him
like,
for like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
You
It's
guys know Dante Crisis?
Dante who?
Okay.
Yeah,
Dante
yeah, I do.
Crisis. Oh, okay, Dante Crisis and Omar gets into it too, and Dante loves to drag Omar, so that it's kind of bringing back Dante Crisis vibes.
So,
Oh yeah, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Kofi,
Yeah.
where can folks find you, man?
Guys, you can catch me on Twitter, creative_Kofi. I guess they call it X now. I haven't made any migrations to other social media platforms. I guess Blue Sky is something I would consider. But you'll see me posting a lot about Monster Hunter World, Visions of Mana, and then I think I'm going to be starting Revenge of the Seven, Romancing Saga 2 Revenge of the Seven. So hopefully I can post a lot more. I usually don't post because I'm playing Trails games and I don't spoil Trails games.
Yeah, you
but
don't want to spoil things.
not-
Yeah.
yeah, so I'm going to...
I tried to explain that to somebody the other day. I was like, dude, when you play nothing but RPGs, you be just trying not to spoil stuff for people.
Right, like,
So it's like somebody's like, what have you been playing? And I'm like, oh, you've been playing that? And I'm like, well, I can't really post obscure images of it because there's like, it's not like when I was playing RoboCop and I could just post random obscure images of the city
Yeah.
and be like, ooh, that looks great. Because it's like
Yeah.
anything in the like people we literally had a whole discussion on Blue Sky. You would have loved this about the statute of limitations on when can you talk about stuff publicly. Boy, that conversation, whoa. I didn't even get in it. I just read it.
nah.
Oh,
Here's the deal.
whoa.
With backlogs the way they are, 7 years, 8 years.
7
Well,
years.
Like,
the crazy thing,
I mean-
is the it started because the person said there is no statute of limitations. There is no time in which you can ever talk about a video game and its plot points publicly. And I was just
Yeah.
like,
That's-
yeah, that's complete bullshit.
yeah.
Does Blue Sky allow you to like obfuscate spoilers?
Somebody
Like-
said you can tag spoilers, but I personally haven't seen it. You know, the way like you can it obfuscates like a video, like you can, and it says like spoiler, you know, on Twitter. Like I haven't seen that, but people have said you could. But my takeaway to that, because I'm about to get out of here as well. But my takeaway to that, and I was explaining to people, is because people were like, well, forums have done it for years, and this has done it for years, and I was like, bro, you have to remember, even though we are a sub community in a social media environment, social media is not invented or designed for gaming. We are just in that, we're in that sub community of gaming in a social media environment. So they're not necessarily thinking to give you stuff that, you know, like on Reddit where you can black out text and stuff like that when you're posting something. They're not designing those feature first because that's not their focus.
Josh
Yep.
just
It's
said, I don't
transparent.
care if you're on social media, you're up for spoilers. He goes, BS, I'll spoil anything. Dude.
But
Josh is
that's what
like,
I'm saying,
everybody
like,
can catch these hands. That's what
yeah,
Josh is
everybody
saying.
can get it. Everybody. I try my best, man, but some people are ridiculous and they consider literally everything a spoiler. And
Right.
I'm just like, that is complete nonsense. Like, but that's why I do post, but like you said, it's rare, or it's when I'm playing something that obviously spoils absolutely nothing. Like, I'm like, there's no way you could take that as a spoiler, you know. But like you said, Kofi knows for sure when you're playing RPGs and stuff, and when people are really dialed in, like people are super into the Trail series. They're just
Right.
like anything. They're like, oh my god, you posted like the new little handheld phone that they hold or something. Like, how dare you? And it's like, dude, I don't even remember the name of that thing. Like, and it's like, it's completely irrelevant. Like that you showed that. Like, but that's what I mean. Like, people will get pedantic. But we'll get into it another time.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me, man.
Yeah, man. I really appreciate both of y'all coming on. Next week, we have Jez coming on the show. And I can share this now because I confirmed twice today with this other guy again. We are going to have Salty on our show next week. And so I am beyond excited about that. I'm going to extend the invite out to Enate and Kofi right now. If y'all can make it, y'all are more than welcome to come on. More than welcome.
Wait,
so
who's coming? I blacked out for a second.
Salty.
Oh, okay, cool. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
I'll definitely try to make it.
it's been, I have tried repeatedly, and I messaged him this morning, and I was like, hey dude, I know you said you were good for next week, for the 12th. I was like, are you still on? And he was like, yes. And I was like, cool, because like it's really awesome. I hold everybody from that podcast in very, very high regard. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for a lot of y'all, and I truly mean that. So I'm really appreciative and extremely
We have a
grateful
good
for
dynamic.
that. And yeah, it's really fun. And we're not
Also,
shills.
before I was gonna say, before I run away, Kofi, I sent you that Clear Obscure thing I told you about where you can watch the studio
Oh yeah.
and everything they talk about. Let me know, like DM me as soon as you watch. Like, it's not long; it's only like 8 minutes or something. Just watch it after the show if you can, and then just let me know what you think. I'm telling you, you're gonna love it, though. Trust me.
That's awesome.
And if you
man.
want it,
yeah. Especially because
I think you've seen
I
it, Thrifty.
whatever
so.
you said before, Thrifty, about the story of 30, I didn't know any of that stuff. Like, you were just like teaching me, so I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're gonna find out some good stuff.
bro, I'm
Trust
in
me.
it. I'm in that game so hard. It's not even funny. But like, so
Absolutely.
we didn't hit the goal for the emoji. Totally fine. It'll be there until it's not there. And y'all have a wonderful freaking night. It's been great. Thank y'all for showing up. We got 18 people in here. The other folks are like, can you please stay thrifty so we can get out of here? So that's what I'm going to do. Guys, have a great time. Thank y'all for showing up and stay thrifty.